Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another chapter of Experiencer Interviews. And today, we've got a very special show for you guys that I've been working on for a while. I wanted to do a show on something that's somewhat taboo within the ufology field. And what I wanted to talk about tonight are MILABS, military abductions, military abductees.
And one of them just got abducted right now. She's
There
not
you
even in
go.
her chair.
Will she ever come back? Who finds that out on next chapter?
I had to fix my lighting. Studio problems here.
So, people like to talk about, the love and light aspect of ufology, of contact, but I wanted to talk about the other side of the coin tonight. And
you're driving me crazy already, but go ahead, and I have lots to jump in on with that.
I know. I know you guys are so passionate about this. But yeah, tonight I wanted to honor those that I've come out to talk about their experiences, and especially those like you guys that had the courage to get the word out about MILABS, because I can't really put myself in your shoes, but to go through what you guys lived through is tremendous. So bravo for you guys to get this out. I believe that as someone, it's really important because we need both sides of the coin. It's not all love and light, and it's not all bad too. But again, bravo for all four of you coming out. So tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we've got Melinda Leslie on, Jocelyn Buckner, Miesha Johnston, and Lorien Fenton. So thanks for coming on. Now, I know you guys are all experiencers, but are you all child experiencers? Have your experiences started off when you were a little? So, Melinda, let's start with you.
Yes, yeah. I didn't know till 1989. At least I wasn't conscious of it till 1989. But my initial recalls were recalling childhood, teenage, and childhood, older child, and then teenage, and then even young adult abduction experiences. And so, yeah, I've had it happen my whole life. I didn't find out till 1989, but yes, my experiences absolutely started in childhood.
Jocelyn, how about yours?
Mine started probably when I was about 4.
Same here, 5, yeah.
Yeah.
4 or 5.
Then, it was really not very many of them, between 5 and 25, actually. And then once I got to be about 25, the abductions or the experiences, as I like to say, were a lot more frequent and a lot more, first there were the creepy experiments, and then there were the MILAB experiences.
Wow. Okay, thank you. Miesha, how about yours?
Yes, mine started at about 3 years old, and there was many different types. My first one, was very different from the next kind. And so there was, as a child, I had probably 6, 7 different types of ETs. 6 different types of ETs. As I got older, I met some more in the MILAB and program. But yeah, so that
Thank you.
throughout my whole life.
I'm the oddball out. I've never had any, I've never seen a gray or a reptilian that I remember. Let's put it that way. Yeah. And my experiences were more like a beautiful woman coming through the wall. The wall turns into a tunnel, and a beautiful lady comes in. And then another time, I had like this evil John Lennon character pop up in my bedroom. And I've had a ghost, and I've had time travel experiences. I've had every kind of high strangeness you can get without an ET standing right next to me. And
I thought the woman coming through the tunnel was an ET, no?
I think she was an ascended master. That's what everybody's telling me now. Because all the ascended master people said that she was that she's one of these ascended masters. Anyhow, bottom line is maybe it's a Palladian or a Plagiaran or something, and I just don't know it.
Okay.
Yeah. I've had a lot of really weird experiences, and I actually have been in pictures with grays, and I've seen a gazillion ships, especially since I hooked up with these gals. It's like I saw a ship know, or two before I met them, and then the minute I met them, then there were ships everywhere. You know?
Well, and she had an experience with Miesha and I and others. It was a huge group, MILAB, so that's why she's here today. But
yeah,
and she's very knowledgeable about the subject.
Forget.
And you're very knowledgeable because you've worked with probably, you know, like me, like 100 MILAB cases. You know a lot of people, so she's very knowledgeable as a researcher of it, but has had an experience with it as too.
Yeah, and in the real connection here, I think, and I think Miesha will agree with this, and Melinda, is that the super soldier connection is basically the guys who are perpetrating the MILABs in a lot of cases, and that's where my expertise lies, in the mind control and super soldier programs, and so we kind of dovetailed into each other. And that's how we all kind of met. And then the next thing we know, we realize that we've been having experiences together and all these things are going on. So very interesting how it all started for us.
I'm going to ask you, Lorien, about UFO CON 2020. Now, I was recently regressed by my friend, and I thought I was going to get clarity on a couple of other things, but I had a MILAB experience at your conference.
No, don't tell me that.
Remember when I told you that I had to take Marion Grace's photo over again?
Right.
Photographer, because I had missed it.
Yes.
I went upstairs.
Yeah, I remember this. Yeah.
For 5 minutes. And I came down and her entire talk was over and she hadn't started yet.
That's an hour and a half.
Yeah. Jocelyn and I have talked about this. I thought it sounded like she had about 2 hours of missing time. Yeah.
So,
wow.
And I was with Kevin Day and Michael Feely in the elevator. And later I asked Michael. Michael said that he had jet lag, so he went back to his hotel room and fell asleep. And Kevin Day said that he was down in the vendor room the entire time selling his books. I asked him how many he sold, and he said none. So, but I remember him in the experience went during this recent regression. So I just want to, have you heard anybody else say that they had missing?
No, Michael was telling me, and I hope you don't mind us hijacking your show, Yannick.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
We're like, okay, we'll just start and go. And,
we tend to do that.
Yeah, you shouldn't get four women together like this, especially the four of us.
And Miesha and Lorien have their own multiple shows that they're used to doing this, you know, so you know that they're used to taking over control anyways, and Jocelyn and I just do because that's how we roll.
Yeah.
But anyhow, no, I didn't hear from anybody else, but I did hear from Michael, and Miesha, you may know about this as well. Michael said he was seeing ships outside of his window, and he got pictures of a few of them.
And take pictures of them, yes.
Yeah, and Chris Bledsoe told me at one point, he said, Lorien, you do realize that there's ETs all around us right now? And I said, yeah, I know. I said, I had such a high fever, I was seeing all kinds of shadow beings and all kinds of things going on in the building, but I equated that to being very sick and having a high fever. And then later I realized, oh my God, those are probably all of those third dimensional or fifth dimensional beings running around the building all day long, you know, hanging out with Chris and Miesha and Melinda and Jocelyn and, you know, everybody else that was speaking there was an experiencer. So just about. I mean, we had a few. Jim Goodall and Michael Schratt aren't, but they might as well be. I think they are. They don't know it yet. So anyhow.
And I remember Michael saying not only something, because I remember seeing his pictures taken out his hotel window. He sent those out online or on Facebook or whatever. And but I also think I remember him either online later and or at the conference saying something about thinking he had an abduction, because he had a period of missing time.
Exactly. And he also said he was seeing shadow people as well. So I didn't realize that until I got home, and it was a month later and I was getting better. And I thought, God, you know, I was equating that to being sick. And now I realized there were probably just tons of other dimensional beings running around the building all weekend.
So I think Jocelyn should speak to Michael Freehawk, you know, like directly to see what he remembers, and maybe you guys together can piece it together.
Yeah,
So
that'd be cool.
Lorien, do you remember telling me to turn the light down or not use the bright light on my camera? And I said, I don't have my camera on. That it was hurting. There was a bright light that was hurting your eyes, you were telling me.
Oh, you guys wouldn't believe what I went through. I've never told you guys what happened. I was seeing all kinds of things. I kept thinking the lights were really bright, and there were people running around, but I had 103 fever, 104.
Yeah. She went to the not the emergency room, but to the
I did go to the emergency.
Yeah, she went to the emergency room overnight. And I remember the next day they said it was the weirdest thing. They'd never seen it. And I'm going to quote you. You said that you had like tar in your lungs. I get home from the conference after hugging you a bunch there 10 days later, COVID, you know. So, I mean, I never got tested, but I know I had it. And I know I got it from you because I think you had COVID there. I really do too.
Now I think I do.
Yeah. And I came home, and 10 days later I came down with it. But as soon as I came home, I was feeling run down. So I started to mainline alternative health stuff and triple dosing my C and my D and oil of oregano. And I think because I started doing that right away, when I got it, the worst parts were only like 4 or 5 days because I was already like 10 days taking that stuff.
I think Miesha was trying to say something at one point, and I know your audio's getting like it's going in and out, so we have to let you talk. So what was that you were going to say about Jocelyn and Michael or something?
What I was saying was I did some regressions, and a couple of the people I did regressions while I was there had experiences while they were there in the hotel.
Yeah. Really? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So little active.
Yeah, it was some pretty active nights. Yeah.
Miesha, did anyone who said they had experiences, did anyone bring up anything MILAB related?
One girl did, yes. Yes, one girl definitely did.
Wow. Well, you guys, there's never a dull moment at my conferences.
Let's say human, not ET.
So have you four ever had an experience together? Or I know like 3 of you did, but all 4 of you at the same time?
You know, it's interesting, Yannick. Miesha and Melinda have had a whole bunch. Miesha, Melinda, and I have had several. Jocelyn and Melinda have had it, and it's like
for clarity, we'll say, at some point. Okay, Miesha, you and I can raise our hands. We had one together. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Miesha and I. Okay. Then Miesha separately. Miesha, Lorien, so now Lorien, raise your hand too. Miesha, Lorien, and I had an experience together. Okay, and then separately from that, Jocelyn and I had an experience together.
So I think Melinda's the kingpin.
It's all my fault.
I know. I'm not.
Let's blame it on Melinda.
That's all I can say.
So let's get into that, the big one.
Yes, but I had it happen at your house, so that was your fault because I was at your house. And Lorien, I was at your conference, and I was at Miesha's apartment, so it's all your guys' fault because I was at Lorien's conference, Jocelyn's house, and Miesha's apartment. So,
well, I have to say that other people and my daughters have had separate experiences.
Yeah.
A lot of separate MILAB experiences, and my kids. So
yeah.
So you just look up.
So I blame all of you.
That's the portal that they talk about in the Rendlesham case. The GPS is practically right over my head. So yeah.
Okay.
So you're just sitting on the freeway there, Jocelyn.
I'm on the front. I'm in the front row.
Now I have a question, Yannick. Have you ever had a MILAB event?
I did describe this to Miesha, and she said it's probably because I wanted to talk about something before we started taping, and I'm not really comfortable. But let's say I used.
Oh, you're safe here, and we'll totally support you. You're safe.
I dated. I might get killed by my ex-fiance, but she's from, she still is. She's from the UK, England, British abductee, gray abductee. Her great grandfather was a knighted brigadier in the I'm not sure the Navy or whatever, but in the British Army, and he worked alongside one of your presidents at the time. My phone was tapped the entire year I was with her, and one time, and it's thanks to her that I knew that was an experience. I didn't know anything about ETs before that, but the second day she was at my place. We called in a UFO just above my house. A week later, I'm at my parents' house in the woods, and maybe an hour's drive away. I do like a C5 on my own at night around 10 p.m. I go inside, there's nothing. Talk with my folks, maybe 5 minutes. As soon as I step off the porch, I get the feeling to look up. The same orange light chip, orange lollipop colored orb, really big, just came over the treetops, just above my head. As soon as I raised it. But one time,
go ahead. Sorry.
One time regarding the MILAB, so this happened in December 2013. I was sleeping. She was on the my head was close to the bedroom doorway, and that night I wake up, and since my head is right in front of the doorway, I see this maybe 4-inch black hole hovering in my doorway. At first, my mind registered it as a disc, but then I realized, there's no dense. Well, it's 4 inches by maybe 3 inches, but there wasn't any width. Then I get up, put the lights on, the black disc disappears. Then my fiance at the time, she wakes up, what's happening? And then she says, well, there's this black hole disc in the doorway. And she says, no, I haven't woken up because of that. I was hearing EMP. Somebody, there was a man yelling in my head, EMP nonstop. So we knew something was going on. It takes about half an hour before we fall asleep. And then I get the feeling there's movement between me and the bed, right beside me. And I wake up. I'm leaning towards her. I'm super drugged up, and I'm seeing these about 5-6 feet tall shadow people moving in front of the bed and on her side of the bed. And they've got really large, broad shoulders. And where there's a neck, there wasn't any neck. There was a huge, round helmet. So all I was seeing, it was the shadow of the body, the shoulders, and the helmet moving. And now I'm super drugged up, like at the hospital, after an operation. I've got the strength to raise my arm and say hi. As soon as I do that, I black out. I wake up. I realize I'm probably naked because I'm bare feet. I'm looking at my feet right now, and I'm wearing hospital robes. And as soon as I realized that was happening, I black out again, and I wake up the next morning.
Sounds like you need some regressions.
Yeah.
Because those are the kind of big chunks of memory where you can fill in the details easily with regression because you already have big chunks of memory, you know?
Yeah.
So that was my, I guess, the closest thing to MILAB that happened. But yeah, so how about we get into that big, the three of you that got taken.
Right before we go there, there is something I'd really like to bring up. When you introduced us, you said, well, the dark side and the negative and blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to take a little issue with that. Now, I've had 9 MILAB abductions and then the harassment surveillance. The harassment surveillance is like guys doing their job to say, oh, it's dark or negative. First off, a lot of people have very incorrect ideas about this whole subject. And there's a lot of very incorrect ideas being bantered about amongst ufology right now. If you guys follow UFO Twitter and the Young Guns and also on Facebook, I'm like, wait. First off, in my experiences, and you guys can address this, but in my experiences, this is happening, and not only my own experiences, but the research. I've worked with, I've lost count, hundreds of cases of people who have this. Well over 100, probably 200 more in depth, maybe more. Okay. And what happens is the interest in the abductees is because they're having alien abduction experiences that there's a covert human interest. Now, again, I'll let, after I'm done talking, each person can chime in on this, but a covert human interest. People are saying, and there's some past stuff, most notably Dr. Stephen Greer and Jacques Vallée saying, okay, well, this, you know, there's this evidence about people perpetrating doing these MILABS and trying to make it look like aliens, and therefore there's no aliens abductions or whatever. You guys, I have a big issue with that, because the whole point, Kitty, is I love it. Hi, Kitty. Is the reason they're doing this is because people have had alien abductions. So when you take out, well, they're interested in us and they're interrogating us about our alien abductions and doing follow-up medical stuff because of our alien abductions and asking us about our alien abductions and wondering about our psi development, psychic abilities because of our alien abductions, and our DNA change because of our alien abductions or contact in the case of Lorien. But you go into, well, wait a second. To me, it's like there's, first off, I don't have any cases of it. You guys, I have no cases of anyone that it was the military trying to perpetrate themselves as ETs, with the exception of maybe one where the person was confused and said could have been someone in costume or not. That's one case out of hundreds I've worked with. Okay. Then I have people who've been recruited, like you said, Lorien, super soldiers who got recruited into doing it. Not a single one of those people that I have ever spoken to have ever said they tried to pass it off and perpetrate a fake alien abduction. I have never had that amongst my handful of people who are perpetrators. My perpetrators said, we wanted to know, what did the aliens show you? What did they teach you? What are your abilities? What's your change in DNA? It was never to perpetrate it as a fake alien experience. Now, if anyone else has come across a case, I'll stand corrected. But in my research, it isn't there. I see everybody nodding. And so, yeah, and when Jacques Vallée says years ago, he heard that, what was it, Peru or South America, I forget, and he says that happened. Maybe they did one experiment then. But I've never come across it in my research. And I talked to other people with other researchers with MILAB cases, famous researchers in the field. None of them have ever told me they've come across that. Now, I know Stephen Greer says, well, I've had a couple guys tell me. Stephen Greer, I think, is hearing it the way he wants to hear. When he hears these insiders, Jocelyn's nodding, I see that. You know, when he hears these insiders, he wants to hear it that way because he wants to believe all ETs are good. There's no scary experiences. And therefore, if you have a scary experience, it's only the military. And it's like, I don't know what, I told him I would like to interview some of these guys that he's talked to because I've never come across it. I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm just saying I've never come across it. Now, if any of you have, but I want to correct that really quick because that's a false assumption in this field. Oh, you know, it's all military, you know, no, bullshit. Sorry, I'll call it.
Yeah, Miesha's got something to say.
I have a short story about my experience with my son. So I was in an elevator. We were going down. There were other people around. We were all drugged. There was a guard in front of us standing at the door. Looked like there was nobody home already. He didn't look normal. He looked like he was spaced out himself. The doors open. They pushed us out. He pushed us out, and then there's other soldiers pushed us out, and some were pushed this way and the others were pushed this way. I was pushed this way. In front of me were military waiting for me to be taken, my group. And this side, there was my aliens and my son standing there. He's one of them that was being taken, and there were aliens. So they definitely worked together.
I've seen that too.
Yeah, they work together.
But it's not the military guys trying to perpetrate a fake alien abduction.
They're not. No.
And Lorien, with your super soldiers, has anyone said, I perpetrated a completely fake alien abduction? Have you ever heard? Yeah, see, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's you guys, that's false. Yeah. And I believe that's maybe even deliberately put out there. I wouldn't put it past the intelligence community put that out there as a false narrative.
Mhm.
Yeah, I gotta say one thing, that Jacques Vallée story, you're ringing a bell for me. I think I read about that back in the 90s or late 90s. Wasn't it Bolivia?
Yes,
And
yes,
yeah,
something like that.
and what
I
they
remember
had
South
done,
America. Yeah.
I talked to Chip Tatum about that at one point, and he didn't know what I was talking about, but he did tell me this. He said there was a point, and he doesn't remember when. He says, I think 80s, 90s, he didn't remember.
By the way, everyone, just because no one knows who you mean, just real quick.
Oh, yeah.
Chip Tatum is a whistleblower insider she's talking to. That's it.
He's an ex-CIA pilot during the Barry Seal and Contra affair fame. Anyhow, that's where he's from. Long story short, Chip told me that at one point the CIA was experimenting, if that's the word, with dressing guys up as aliens to see how, they were doing some kind of program.
Mhm.
And it didn't last long, and it was done in South America. It wasn't done here in the United States.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like Jacques was talking about. So,
Yeah.
but everybody regurgitates this in the UFO community as some kind of gospel. And I'm like, nobody bothers to ask me, who's worked with hundreds of cases, and I've been doing this research for 30 years. Lorien has too, so has Miesha. And so we all have, and Jocelyn too. So they don't bother to ask us who know about the subject matter to say, have you ever come across this in 30 years of research? Well, I'm telling you, no, they are not perpetrating, trying to make it look like it's aliens when it's not. No, they're interested in us because we've had alien experiences. And you guys, this happens to a lot of people. There's the 4 of us, or 5 of us, including Yannick, since he just shared. 5 of us here. I want everyone out there to listen, to know. This happens, okay, the abduction research organizations, MUFON, FREE, a few others, okay, are coming with numbers where re-abducted, taken by the military is at 12% of abductees. Now, I think that's extremely conservative because they're not necessarily asking the right questions. When you get into the harassment and surveillance questions, my numbers are like 60% of abductees have harassment, surveillance, monitoring. And I think when they ask the right questions, because they're only asking, were you taken by the military? If they asked, did you have an alien abduction with military personnel present, that number's going to jump up to 40%. I guarantee it.
Maybe higher. I mean, think of Terry Lovelace.
Exactly. I was just going to say that. Thank you, Lorien. You took it right out of my mouth. I was going to say, perfect example. Terry Lovelace has harassment and surveillance later, has monitoring, gets interrogated on the base, but actually on board the alien craft, the big giant triangle thing, like a 3-story building or whatever, sees military personnel, so you go into, okay. You guys, there's so many false misperceptions about this. And I invite any of the other women, or even you, Yannick, to disagree with me if you've heard something contrary. But I'm saying in my 30 years of research, never come across it.
Yeah.
So do you see the ETs as bad? Well, are there any factions that are bad? Or
now that's a separate subject. I'm talking about MILABS right now. As far as ETs, it's a huge, wide variety. Okay? I know some people who will absolutely tell you they were traumatized and mistreated by their alien experiences. Not me. I perceive mine as positive. I think most of us here, you guys can jump in, but I believe we all perceive it that way. Now, of course, I ask myself stuff like, is that, what's the syndrome where you agree with your abductors, that kind of thing.
Stockholm syndrome.
Stockholm, thank you. Yeah, exactly. So, I think of stuff like that, but I think, no, I'm returned in one piece. I've been given all sorts of technical information. I've had my psi abilities enhanced. I've been healed of stuff. You just go on, and it's been nothing but in the long-term positive in my life. Now, that's not to say some experiences weren't traumatic, but even though we've had positive experiences, and you guys probably know people who have had negative, I do know some people that hate it, would make it stop, and claim in their experiences it's very negative. I question where they are in their development of it, like maybe are they new to the subject? Because you asked me 30 years ago, I had a different view of it. So where they are with how long they've had experiences and they're still in a traumatic reaction, even though the experiences aren't, quote, you know, bad? Or did they really have an experience that they feel really deliberately harmed them? Now, Jocelyn and I know of one person that claims that for sure.
But I had an experience, Melinda, that, you know, in the morning, it was my husband, my daughter, myself, all had the same dream. And when, you know, when you dream together, it usually means that there is something going on.
Yeah, absolutely.
When I woke up, and even Kim Carlsberg came over and took a photo of it, I had half of my face was burned, you know, like a really bad sunburn. And the dream was that my husband said that there was this old woman with lots of Native American jewelry, and she was like scratching right here at my back door, right next to me. And I start to get up, and my husband,
is that Vicky?
Says,
do me a favor, close my door.
Says, you know,
thank you.
Don't go.
Thank you, dear.
Door.
Okay.
And my daughter came into my bedroom and said, "Mom, don't open the door. What's behind there is not human." And I said, "It's my job. I'm a gatekeeper. I'm here in Sedona at the gate. It's my job. I have to." And I opened up the door, and what I saw there, I could not find 1 ounce of compassion of any kind of. I mean, this thing was a ball of hate, and it was demonic, very, very demonic. And I said, "You have to leave. You cannot come in." And it did. It was like that. That's just what happened. But when I woke up in the morning, half my face was burned.
Oh no!
Really
Very
bad.
interesting.
Wow.
Wow. Well, and definitely I'll say this in regards to that. And this is a big discussion currently in ufology right now, because there's this whole threat, no threat, blah, blah, blah thing going on. Okay. But one of the things that's come up in that is people with close range to the technology can be injured by it. Now, it's not like the aliens are setting out to say, ha, 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 we're going to injure you. No, maybe in your case, Jocelyn, they did. And again, I'm not diminishing. If anyone else is out there and they're getting mad because they've had horrible, scary experiences, I know that that exists for some people. So I'm not saying it doesn't.
So that's
okay.
my only one. That was, of all of the experiences I've had, that was my only one. But I have to say is, you know, just like Lorien's lady that came into her house that is an ascended master, those two are extraterrestrial. They're not part of the earth.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right. It gets into, and that's a whole nother discussion going on in the field, is the nature. Yeah, Jocelyn, absolutely, I agree. The nature of this phenomena. Where does it borderline consciousness and the paranormal, and that there's so much crossover, it gets very hard to define it because they are connected. It's all consciousness.
Yeah. Maybe we should get back to MILAB stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was just addressing that what he was asking about negative ET things. You know, just to.
Well, you know, it's good to know what you guys you know, have been through, and you know, your perception of the you know, of contact and all that. Let's get into the mutual abduction case. You know, the biggest ones that you've had the pleasure or not of being, you know, taken together. What year did that happen? You know, the one with you three.
Miesha, why don't you start out on this?
Yeah.
Well, Lorien, it was your conference. You can say the year.
No, 2014? No, 13.
No, it's early.
13.
Talking about the one here in
Fiesta. Yeah.
Oh.
That was
that
2012?
Yeah.
That was 13.
Okay.
12 was in San Rafael.
Okay.
13 was
2013.
Fiesta.
Okay. 14
was the Gold Coast.
Okay. 2013.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, well, it is your conference, so, you know.
No, Miesha, you go ahead. Because, tell your side of all this.
My side of it is I went to bed and woke up leaning up against a loading dock. I could see very few people. I really only, in my view, because I was paralyzed except for the walking, and so I could not bend my head. So I could see Niara, and I could see James. Did I see James Rink?
Yeah.
Rink, and I saw. I'm trying to think. My memory's not as good as
Do you
yours.
remember seeing me?
No, I did not. I did not see both of you. I did not.
Okay.
I saw one other guy. That's really all I saw. That was right near me, in front of me.
Miesha, if I remember correctly, I think you said you saw James Rink, Stephen Kelly, and Niara Isley.
Stephen Kelly. That's it. I couldn't think of his name. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm glad you saw him too, because when I get into mine. Okay, go ahead.
So, yeah. So as concerning mine, all I remember is seeing Niara, and she had such an angry look on her face, like, you're not going to happen to me. It's not type of look. And I remember
Sounds like Niara.
very pissed off myself. And then the next thing I remember, so I kind of am in and out of consciousness, because I'm a real lightweight when it comes to drugs, because since a lifelong experiences with the MK Ultra and stuff, I've gotten, I think I'm very susceptible. So next thing I remember, I wake up and I am in a chair in a place. I did see the outside of the truck. I can't tell you, I was a Ryder truck, but I can't.
Ryder truck.
Yeah, I was a Ryder.
Yeah.
Can't tell you too much more about it. Yellow, that's it.
Were you someone, Miesha, that thought there were two trucks?
No, I wasn't.
Okay.
No, I did not see the second.
Okay, neither did I. I don't know who said that, but okay.
So I just saw so little, I just saw flashes. I was in and out of consciousness. Okay, so then I was being taken across this kind of a catwalk. That I remembered. Then I remember waking up in a chair, and I had felt like I'd had a shot here, or just having a shot. And they said there was guys in military.
When you say chair, was it like an outpatient surgery kind of chair? Like a reclining, like you'd have in a dentist's office?
Like a dentist's office chair. Yeah, it was a dentist.
Yeah, okay, that's what I mean. That's outpatient surgery, but same thing.
Yeah, it was definitely one of those that could push you back and forward. But I was upright by then when they woke me back up. And they said, don't be, and I was like freaked out, and they said, don't worry, it's just your yearly checkup. And that's their smart remark to me. And that's really all I remember. If you remember, I didn't even remember that until the following year when we were at the conference and you spoke about it. And then Niara and I said, oh, no, we didn't. And then we both had regressions and found out we did.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. So
what's wrong, Yannick?
So, I'm sad that,
I thought you were commenting on some technical issue. I'm like, what?
No, but okay.
Yeah, there were many, many more people, and I don't remember that. So I'm going to turn it over to Lorien or Melinda, who do
yeah.
This.
Well, I think we should go with me next and then Melinda, because Melinda's can fill in all the blanks afterwards. But what was interesting to me is that I denied. I was the denier of the group. On Monday, was it Monday?
Miesha, how many people were Lorien, how many people were involved? Or like, just go with your memory, then I'll fill in. Okay, go ahead.
Well, I don't have any memory, but here's what I can tell you.
What do you mean? You called me days later and told me a whole bunch you remembered. Like
no.
Later, you called me and she remembers all this stuff consciously. 2 weeks after the event, she calls me, Lorien, and goes,
that's not what happened. What happened was this.
Okay.
I spent Monday of that event. I think Miesha, Melinda, Aaron Hicks, and a couple other people came to the room because we were doing a live radio broadcast for my 5 p.m. show. And they were all talking about it. And I kept saying, oh, you guys are out of your mind. Nothing happened, blah, blah, blah. Well, I get home. Well, I leave Henderson on Wednesday night with Tyler Clark and our big buddy, I'm looking at his face. I can't think of his name. He was helping me out at the conference. Anyhow, we decided to go up to the Little Alien in Rachel, Nevada on our way home, and we spend the night. And I get into my room. Now, you guys know what the trailers are set up like, right, Miesha? Everybody knows.
Yeah.
You've got the the front room, and then you had the bedroom in the back and the Jack and Jill bathroom kind of in the middle, right? Well, I get to the back room where I'm sleeping, and the air conditioner doesn't work. And I think, well, that's no problem. I'll just open the door to my room and the door that goes out the back of the trailer. There's a front door to the big room in front, and a small door by the bathroom and the bedroom in the back. You open it and you can go out to your car. Okay, and I parked right there. I thought, no problem, I'll just open the door. Well, I'm an idiot, so I fall asleep, and yes, I'm cooled off, but I wake up and my mouth hurts so bad I can't swallow. And I'm thinking, what the hell? I mean, I went to bed and everything was fine. Now I wake up and I cannot swallow. My tongue feels like it's on fire. I'm dying. It's horrible, horrible pain. And I finally get into the bathroom and I try to look at it. I can't see what's going on. All I see is a brilliant red. And I'm like, what the heck? And so finally I get to breakfast. We have coffee, blah, blah, blah. I leave. I get to Reno. I spend the night. I'm taking Advil like there's no tomorrow. And I finally make it home the next day. Get home, pull in, get in the driveway, run into the house and tell my roommate, you've got to look under. I can't talk at this point. I'm like this. It's so swollen and it's horribly painful. And he takes a pair of hot dog tweezers or whatever out of the drawer. Then he lifts my tongue up and we get a magnifying glass and a flashlight. And I look in my mouth and it looks like a taser. Someone had taken something and lasered in a little over a quarter of an inch in perfectly round circles, 2 holes into my lower mouth, right where your tongue connects to the roof, the bottom of your mouth. And it was so painful, you guys, I can't even describe it. And the minute I saw it, there was a voice in my head that said, we told you not to talk. And that's all I heard. And I was in agony for a week and a half. I mean, it was really bad. Whatever they did to me, it was ugly.
Do you remember?
Now, that's a side thing that happened because of that conference.
Yeah.
And it was, I considered a MILABS.
Now, Lorien, at the like a week after the conference, you call me and you start saying you're remembering some stuff.
I did not, Melinda. Here's what happened.
Okay.
For 4 months after that conference, everybody went on radio shows and they were doing all this stuff where they were saying, oh, this is all what happened and blah, blah, blah. And I kept saying, no, it never happened. I'd go on radio shows after you guys or whoever, like Rink and all those people were going on and saying, Casbolt were saying, oh, this stuff all happened. And I go on there. I'd call the guy on the show and I'd say, you got to put me on for equal time. And they put me on, and I deny the whole thing ever happened, right?
When did the conversation have where you were telling me what the people were wearing,
Melinda,
and about Max and the clipboard? Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Hold on.
Okay.
I'm sitting in my house and it's September and the phone rings and it's Melinda and she says to me, I've got to talk to you about what happened at the conference. And I said,
okay, that's the call. Yeah.
And I said, I don't remember anything happened at the conference. You guys are all in your mind. And you said, no, you've got to listen to me. And I said, okay. She goes, this is what Melinda tells me. I've been having PTSD. I have to sleep with the lights on. You've got to hear me out. This really did happen. I said, no, it didn't, but I'll listen. And so I'm listening to her. And this is when this all happened, Melinda.
Okay.
She gets to a point in the conversation where she says,
yes, exactly.
He was wearing, and I suddenly had a vision pop in my head of a guy leaning over me, and something kept hitting me in the chin and neck area. And I thought it was dog tags, but now I realize it was probably a necklace or something because he wasn't wearing dog tags now that I think about it. And I described the hat he was wearing, the color of the t-shirt and the pants before she even had a chance to finish it. So then I realized, now I'm totally freaked out because I'm like going, oh my God, I just had a vision knowing full well that that happened to me. Okay. This is when they were trying to get me up and get me dressed is what I kind of was perceiving because I kept saying, get your pants on or get your pants on or something. And that's all I remembered at that point. Then Melinda went on with the story, which you're going to hear in just a moment. And she gets to the point where we're downstairs, we're leaning, just like you, Miesha, leaning up against a concrete wall or something on the loading dock. And she said
the wall
to
in the
me,
hallway, but go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, wall in the hallway, wherever we were. Anyhow, she says to me, I know that this happened. She goes, you know why? Because you said to me, nobody, and here's what I said while it was happening to Melinda. I said, nobody's.
Yeah, she cut me off again to finish the sentence. Go ahead.
Exactly. No one's ever going to believe this. And I thought, God, that's exactly what I would say. That's exactly what I said. And for that second, I remember looking at Melinda and saying something, and that's what it was.
Well, and I remembered you talking about being on the loading dock and seeing Casbolt and what he was wearing.
I kind of remember Casbolt and I kind of remember Max. But
at one point you said we were lined up against the wall in the hallway and Max had a clipboard.
No, you said that to me.
No, but at one point anyways,
maybe
there were certain things I held back because you were having free recall on that telephone call,
yeah.
And she went into more detail. I'm telling you, you guys, she was finishing my sentences. I said, I just kept saying, what else do you remember? And she would say, well, then it was this and this, and she was describing it. And then I went on to say, that's exactly what I remember.
Yeah. The only thing I had 4 or 5 little flashbacks of what Melinda's talking about. I do not remember being in the truck, but
yeah,
I wouldn't have been down there if they weren't putting me in the truck, as Melinda and Miesha kindly pointed out to me a year later in a bar that they put the fear of God in me, because I still was denying it. Even though I had admitted it to Melinda, I was still kind of like, eh.
I know, in that phone conversation, you kept finishing my sentences.
I know. You know. It's like, I don't want, I'm unlike most of the people.
Well, and tell them about one of the best pieces of physical evidence is the 2 door locks that you got billed for.
Oh yeah. See, and Miesha knows about this too.
Now, Yannick,
crazy.
You can show those. I gave you those pictures, I think, of the door locks.
Yeah. I got it. Yeah.
Yeah, Miesha, weren't you and Aaron talking about it on the day of the radio show interview? You guys were all talking about these doors, and I didn't know what you were talking about.
Yeah, I think I remember. Yeah.
Somebody kept saying,
we were. Yes.
Somebody kicked in a door, and I was doing my radio show, so I was kind of like not paying attention to you guys. But
and Erin Hicks had pictures on her phone of one of the doors and pictures someone else had taken of the other door. So right then she shows me the pictures of the 2 doors and the broken lock.
And I never did figure out why they had to break it. I guess there's no little device to lift that thing up and make it slide off.
Yeah, when you have the
flapper,
U-shaped security latch, like this,
Yeah.
Yeah, they loosened the screws. They somehow were able to get in there and loosen the screws. And one of them, the screws and the latch were found on the floor, and the other one was hanging by one screw. And that's the one. Did I give you pictures of that, Yannick?
I'll have to check, but yeah.
Yeah, because you can cut to those pictures and show them right now while we're talking.
Well, anyhow, the point
if you can show it right now, if you got it,
The point is very simple, you guys. I got charged for damages to the rooms. Those 2 rooms,
that was my point.
I had to pay like
the hotel
$50 to have those all replaced in each room. Something like that.
She said the hotel charged her for both broken door locks, which you guys, we didn't do. Those happened when the military guys came into our rooms to get us out.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's those pictures. So that's physical evidence because those were found broken. She has the bill from the hotel, which you've kept, right, Lorien, as evidence?
Well, sure. Somewhere in a storage locker somewhere. I'm sure.
I asked you multiple times, keep that bill when you got it. But because that's evidence that you were billed for those hotel rooms being broken into. Now, and the reason I bring that up, it's all just physical evidence.
Melinda, that in itself isn't really that, to me, broken doors. I mean, the hotel could say anybody.
Yeah, but you guys, the door latches were removed. We didn't do that.
I know.
That was
I know.
when they broke into our rooms.
I know.
On 2 of the rooms.
Okay.
Now, Scotty and I, my friend who came with me. Oh, Miesha, sorry, I couldn't hear you.
I just wanted to say you had more memories of the whole thing. I mean, I remember one event where we were inside the hotel and like in with the back area where they walk around where the people who employees work there. And I remember seeing a line of people.
Yes, perfect.
And then I was, don't remember.
Yeah, because I remember after you got regress, you told me we were lined up in the hallway and I said yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You guys, I made sure that I had Lorien tell me her story before I gave her details, and Miesha telling me her story because I wanted to see if their memories match mine. So there were parts I was withholding until they shared those.
That's true. She did do that, Miesha. I mean, I know that, and Melinda's good about that. She doesn't try to feed us information before it happens.
Because I said, I want you to remember first before I tell you more.
Exactly.
Because otherwise I don't want to risk, colorizing your memory.
Yeah.
And you guys, the whole point to why we're sharing these is not to say, oh, drama. And I hate sharing stories for that reason, because it has no value. Okay, other than to maybe help people who've had experiences know they're not alone, which does have value there. But the point is, what we're saying happens to a lot of people, And when Yannick asked me to be on this, I thought of 10 other people that could also do this, I mean, he asked you guys, that's great. This is great. This is who he wanted. But I mean, I'm just saying, I know of a bunch of people that could have done this who have, incredible. We talked about Niara, there's Nadine Lawlich, there's Kathleen Martin, there's, Mary Rodwell. I mean, there's a lot of people have research and experiences with it, and they all do, and more. I could go on.
Melinda, tell the story, please.
Okay. I'm just in avoidance. Just hang on. Okay, so I went to this conference with a friend of mine who I worked with. She's no longer with us, unfortunately, but my friend Scotty here at the Center for New Age. And Scotty went to gamble. She'd recently taken a class on how to play baccarat, which Lorien and I are about to do. And but anyway, so she go to Vegas and do. But she had taken this class, so she wanted to go do that. So she went with me because I had thanks to Lorien, and I was a speaker at a conference, so I had a hotel room covered. So Scotty could come stay, in the hotel room for free and go off during the day and attend part of the conference if she wanted to. So this is what happened. I'm in the room. I'm awoken in my hotel room, in the bed. I'm furthest from the door. Closer to the door is Scotty. We have 2, queen size beds. And Scotty is a woman, by the way. So I hear noise at the door. Somebody comes in. Our security latch was not latched. So that's why ours wasn't broken. We did not have the security latch on because Scotty came up later than me and left it unlatched because she thought she was going to go down and gamble again. She ended up getting tired and going to bed. But because she thought she was going back down, she didn't bother to do the security latch. Okay. So what I remember is these guys coming into the room and I'm like, what? And I'm just waking up. So there's kind of a shock. And I think I maybe even said, who are you or something, but part of me, I think, knew. And they were wearing t-shirts and camouflage pants or whatever. And
it was desert camo.
Yeah, desert camo and tan t-shirts. Okay.
Yeah.
But these guys come, and now the only light in the room was from the hotel room hallway. And this is the Fiesta Hotel in Henderson, Nevada, right next to the freeway, if you've seen it, in Henderson. And so in comes these guys, and Scotty starts to go, what, whatever. And I'm just waking up, and they set this device on a table, the dresser in the room, or the credenza with the television, and it made this noise that subsequently, in Lorien, and I think all of you have probably heard this story at some point, I have another case that's come forward from another Milab case, a guy who recorded this happening in his environment. As soon as I heard it, I recognized it because what he recorded was the same thing we heard. And and Scotty was still alive and friends with this guy too, and he played it for her, and Scotty and I are both like, oh my God, that is because Scotty remembered the sound. And so we both remembered this sound, which was this pulsed clicking noise, which I think was an EMP device of some kind. But I think what it did is it put out a pulse that kind of rendered you out of it, like it, you know, but, and it like if you were already asleep, it kept you asleep. So Scotty remained asleep. She stirred a little, this noise started up, she rolls over, and that's it. I started to do the same. One of the guys comes over, sits me up in the bed, and shakes me really hard, like overriding it, like, stay awake. And I was like, and he goes, no, stay awake, stay awake. So I think this device was to keep you asleep, but because he sat me up and was shaking me, it kept me awake. And then, now, I had a t-shirt and leggings that I was wearing. And so I was dressed, and he got me out of bed, and I'm waking up, and, you know, of course now I realize what's going on, you know, and I still hear the device, but we go to leave the room. He picks up the thing, and escorts me into the hallway. And there's another guy. I go out, and Scotty's still passed out in bed, door closes, she remains asleep, okay? She later remembered the device and the fact she was woken up and she heard some weird noise, and she rolled back over and went back to sleep. So that's her input, but I had her witnessing. Okay, then I go out in the hallway, and I noticed, because they put us, Lorien had booked our rooms on, I think, 2 levels of the two floors of the hotel in a certain wing. So when I go out in the hallway, I recognize that there's some other, now some of the military guys were dressed plain clothes, and there a few look like this. But you guys, if you got up in the middle of the night in that hotel and walked down the room, it would just look like a bunch of people came back from partying, and seeing a guy in camouflage pants and a tan shirt is not going to look that unusual. You might say, oh, they're military guys staying in the hotel, or they just happen to dress that way. So some of them were plain clothes, some of them were dressed like that. There were a few of the other people in the conference. They take us into, you know, now there's the main elevators, the hotel, but then there's the service elevators, right? So they take us back where there's a soft drink machine and ice, you know, ice machine, right? And then you go through a door, and it's the service elevator. And we go in there, and the service elevator stops and opens, and it's other people from the conference with some of these same guys. So there's like 3 of us and 5 or 6 military guys. We get on with the 3 or 4 or 5 others. So, you know, maybe not quite that many. If there were a total of 5 of us and 5 on the elevator, let's say, you know, but they get us on there. So now we're a full elevator of military guys and the speakers at the conference, okay? Of which Aaron Hicks remembers quite a bit too. And another gentleman by the name of Jay apparently remembered quite a bit. Mm-hmm. And so anyways, we get on the elevator, it goes down, it opens up into a hallway. They walk us down the hallway, we turn a corner, and there's a few of the other conference speakers. So to this day, I don't know the exact count, but I would say, if you guys kind of have a say so, I'd say give or take 15 people. 12, maybe 18 like at the most, and at least 12. I don't know how many speakers you had at the conference, but Lorien, that year, if you remember, that might, you know.
I don't remember right
now. And it may not have been everybody, you know.
Well, the thing is, some of them weren't speakers that were there for this, you know.
You're right, you're right.
Yeah.
Okay, so we lined up in the hallway, but one of the guys in camouflage pants and a tan t-shirt is a guy who's famous in the, controversial, but famous in the super soldier realm, is James Casbolt, okay? And so I recognize him. Now there's the guy, everyone was dressed, no one was completely naked. It looked like if you had jeans, or like the guys had undershirts or whatever, it looked like if you were in bed partially dressed or only in underwear or naked, they would have handed you something in your own room to put on. One of the guys later that Aaron knew said, yes, my clothes were over the chair. They handed me my clothes that were on the chair.
They did the same thing to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had my clothes over the end of the bed on that couch that was in the middle of the room.
Yeah.
And they made me go get the, or they handed them to me, I think.
Well, another guy said they handed me my jeans, which were over the chair, you know.
Yeah, I think they did.
But I had leggings on and a t-shirt, so I was okay. So, so in the hallway, everybody's got jeans, t-shirts, sweats, leggings, whatever they kind of had handy, you know. And so that's where we are. But I remember wearing, a gentleman who was wearing like black jeans and a black t-shirt was Max. And he was in alignment with us, but James looked at him and points and goes, you come here, and hands him a clipboard. So he goes from being one of us to all of a sudden having to help. And he's to check off, and he is to call everyone out, and everyone's to raise their hand or say here or yeah, you know. And they said, when we call your name out, put your hand up, let us know you're here. And they called off everyone, and Max's job was call out the names and check people off as they said here. But when he was done, I remember he went to like hand the clipboard back, got back into line with us, and they had to say, no, come back here. Like he didn't know if he was supposed to be with them or as one of the perpetrators or with us. Like it was clear he was confused where he was supposed to be. And we waited in the hallway, and then they took us out because they would call your name again. You'd step forward, and they took us out in small groups out to the hallway we were in was the hallway that ends right to the opening of the loading dock. Down the utility, you know, area, the loading dock of the hotel. Now, I've been back since, I think Lorien, I told you this, and I drove up because they leave the outside door to the loading dock open, and it's kind of an obscure place or by the freeway. It's very easy to access over there. In fact, you can't really see it unless you're slowing down on the freeway, but you can drive down to it. And I didn't pull in and get out and walk around. I think someday I will, but I did at a certain date on a different trip to Vegas, pull off there, go look in the loading dock, and you guys, it is exactly like I remembered. Like I was shocked when I looked at it. I'm like, oh shit, that's it. That's exactly what I remember. So anyway, so they take us out on the loading dock and backed up, just like how trucks back up. There's like a bumper, you know, on the loading dock. Trucks back up. Well, there was this truck backed up and the back end of it open. And it was the size of like a larger, like at least 18 or 20 foot, maybe 24 feet, 18, I'd say closer to 24 foot moving truck. And the outside was yellow. And I realized it had the kind of the diagonal kind of blue stripe on it. And it said Ryder. And I go, oh, it's, you know, I saw a Ryder moving truck. And so they take us like 3 at a time into the back of the truck and from the hallway, and some people were on the loading dock. So some people were in the hallway, some people on the loading dock. And they take you in the truck, and there were like 3, like Miesha said, of these kind of reclining, what I call outpatient surgery, or like a dental chair, okay? Examination chair, you know, that kind of reclines. And there were 2 guys, I was in one, and I remember either I was to the far right and there was a guy to my left, another one to the left, or I was in the middle. I think I'm in the middle. I remember a guy to my left and I think a guy to my right. And one of them was the guy, Lorien, who is tall, kind of good looking. They were all young, good looking guys. And he does a lot of remote viewing stuff.
Oh.
And he was also one of the ones with the broken door latch, but he was on the table next to me. Anyway, so they proceed to, with me, you guys, not to get too graphic or too intense.
Oh, Tyler Clark.
Tyler, yeah, was on a table next to me. And the other table I thought may have been Rink, but I'm not sure if he was on the table next to me. I think he was.
Okay.
James Rink, but the other one was definitely Tyler. But anyways, and they lean me back and they put a swab up my nose that numbed my nose area, okay? And then they had this long needle device that they put up my nose, and I remember, not to be too graphic, but going through 2 different layers of bone, crunch, crunch, you know, but they numbed it, but I could feel it. It was still pretty painful, but not acute, you know, it was just pressure, and they went up. And I remember them saying something about talking to each other, not to me, but visual retention, stimulation of visual cortex, something like that. So I feel like they were hitting my ocular nerve or doing something like that. There was nothing on the end of it. I don't think it was any kind of implant situation, because then I did feel what felt like a tingling, like maybe an electric charge. And I think, and they said, close your eyes. And I remember it was like they wanted me to visualize something, and it was like stimulating the ocular nerve or memory, like, you know, something like that. And saying stuff like Miesha, like they said to you, like kind of being snide, you know, and saying your annual checkup and, you know, kind of stuff. I have an exact writing. I just don't have it in front of me, but I have, when I recalled all this, which I remembered consciously, I immediately wrote it down. And every time I recalled more, I wrote it down. So I have the script of what was said, but it gets into, you know, stimulation of the visual cortex, visual memory. So that's, they were talking to each other. That's what I heard. They were doing similar or maybe different procedures to the other guys. And then after they took this out, they put gauze like up in my nose, you know, whatever, and let it sit there a few minutes, maybe took it out, put up some more. And apparently, you know, this was a very thin little needle, so it wasn't causing, apparently, I mean, I had a bloody nose, but they were putting stuff up and stopping it. And eventually it didn't keep coming out with a lot of blood, so I guess they figured it was okay. And I remember I was having some difficulty breathing and stuff the whole time. Of course, I was saying mouth breathing, you know. And after they finished this, they took us out onto the loading dock. And like I said, I have the whole script of what was said there, but I just don't have it with me right now. But I felt like it was stimulating, you know, the visual cortex. And I don't know if they
Melinda,
were asking me to remote view something and trying to stimulate my ability to do it.
Melinda, when you got off the truck, was this when the whole Kelly thing happened?
Yeah, I'm going to say that next. I was just going there. I was just going there. In fact, I almost went there, and then I wanted to just make sure I finished with this part. So then they get us off the truck, and we're all standing on the loading dock at this point. So everyone's like you were waiting on the loading dock till the next people went on the truck, and then everybody eventually was done on the truck. So they took people 3 at a time. Well, if that's 15 people, then that'd be 5 groups, right? And the procedures went pretty quick. You were maybe on the truck for 10 minutes, you know, I'm just guesstimating, maybe 15, you know, but you waited on the loading dock. So everyone's kind of standing there, hemming and hawing, and we're fairly conscious. We're afraid. They're telling everyone don't talk. There's occasionally things said to us like, just stand here, don't say anything, whatever. But at one point, actually, no, it was before we went on the truck, Lorien. It was before we went on the truck. Okay.
All I remember is you told me he got.
Yeah. Okay. So, but okay, I'll go back to when we're on the loading dock at the end, but it was before we got on the truck. No, I take it back. I was off the truck, but I'm off the truck. Okay, I was off the truck. I'm standing on the loading dock, but they go to take another group on. So this was before they were all done. And they start walking Steve Kelly, okay, over to the back of the truck. And he looks at the truck and sees like surgical setup, outpatient surgery. And he goes, oh, hell no. And so he turns abruptly like he's going to walk, because the truck is here. It's a big loading dock, and over to the right is a staircase going down. And meanwhile, there's a space for at least one more, if not two other trucks there. I think it's like one more, you know. So this is probably a distance of 30 or 40 feet or whatever. So he goes, oh, hell no. And he starts storming away like he's going to go down the ramp and just leave, or, you know. And he goes, oh, hell no. And one of the guys comes up behind him and goes, where are you going? And does like a chokehold on him, kind of cutting off his air. Miesha, you're nodding. Does that kind of sound familiar? And he and his knees kind of give out, and he starts to pass out, and they lay him down on the loading dock. Now, he didn't completely pass out, I don't think, or if he did, it was just, you know, starting to black out. But they lay him down, and he immediately comes to, or he's not quite out, but he's shaking, like, because this big guard came up behind him and did a chokehold, you know. And so, you know, and he was like, oh, hell no. And he's going to walk out of there on his own accord. Yeah, right, buddy. You know, and so this guy goes, you're not going anywhere, chokes him. He goes down. And when he comes to, the guy's leaning over him, this big guard's leaning him over. And they kept saying, will you be compliant, you know, to us, be compliant. You know, this whole thing about being compliant. And they said to him, will you be compliant now? And Steve he's sitting on his butt on the thing, and he's nodding like, yeah, you know, like you can tell it scared the crap out of him. He's nodding like, okay. He's like, yeah, because he's like, now will you, literally the guard said, now will you be compliant? And then they took him on and did whatever they did with him. But anyways, at the end, when we're all standing there before they're going to take us back in the hallway up on the elevators back to our rooms, we're standing there, and Lorien, that's when you said, we're all out there on the dock together, and you turned to me and you said, no one's going to believe this.
Yeah, no one's ever going to believe it. I know.
Lorien,
and I would say that.
There.
Oh, yeah. Am I muted? No, I'm not muted. Are you there, you guys?
Lorien?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I lost you, Lorien.
No, I'm here. Yannick, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, say that again. I didn't hear you.
No, I was just going to say that.
I didn't hear you.
Exactly what I would say, and I'm sure I did, because I remember saying something.
She turned to me just so deadpan, and you know, Jocelyn and I made each other cracking up in our experience. Well, Lorien was like that. She goes, nobody's ever going to believe this.
And here we are, years later, sitting here going, will anybody believe us? You know?
Casbolt even like almost laughed at her, but caught himself, because he was like being a perpetrator right then. So he caught himself from, you know, like she almost made him crack up, because she's just so deadpan, goes, no one's going to believe this, ever believe this. And then they took us back.
What's interesting about that statement is I didn't believe it.
Yeah.
So it's almost funny in a weird way how it played out. And I was the one that was arguing with all you guys for so many months about
and
it.
And that later phone call where you were spontaneously remembering, and I said, and you turned to me and said something. And you said on the phone, I bet I said, and no one's ever going to believe this. I'm like, oh my God. You're like, what? I'm like, that's what you said. You said, what do you mean? That's what I said. That's exactly what you said. So I knew you were remembering, you know? And then they took us back up to our rooms. Okay, so just jumping ahead though. So they took me back in my room. Of course, Scotty's out cold. I get put back in bed. They give me some command to sleep, probably a shot, I remember. Oh yeah, shot, okay. And they'd also given me a shot when I was on the exam thing. Not only the numbing up the nose, but I'd been given a shot under my left arm. But okay, so the next morning I get up and I'm in the bathroom getting ready, and I'd gotten out of the shower, but I had a towel around me or something, and Scotty needed the bathroom. So she comes in, and in the bright bathroom light, she looks at me and she goes, whoa. And she goes, what happened to you? And she starts pointing out to me bruises on me. And I said, oh, you see those? And she goes, yeah. And she said, what's that there? And she could kind of see something. I lift up my arm, and she goes, that looks like a needle mark under your armpit. You know, kind of not quite under, but right there. And she goes, that looks like a needle mark. And I mean, that's a needle hole. And she said, you have bruises here, and it looks like somebody grabbed you here. Oh, that was one thing. When we were in the hallway, people occasionally thought they would like step forward or move or go to talk to Max when he was doing stuff, and they would say no, and you'd have to back up, and then people would start to walk up on the dock when they wanted you to be in the hallway, and they would grab you. So a couple people, so a couple people were getting bruised because they were like holding them firmly, okay? And that's what I remember. I was one of those people like, well, do you want me out there? Or do you want me here? you know, on, you know, in line, or do you want me on the dock? They said, stay here for now, you know, but I started to walk on the dock and a guy stopped me and grabbed me. Okay. Well, so after Scotty looks at my bruises, she said, someone grabbed you here and here, you know, clearly you have a needle mark and somebody grabbed you. Okay. And she starting to have a little bit of conscious recall about someone came into our room during the night and there was some weird noise, you know, so she was remembering. Okay, then, so what night did that happen? Was it the next day or 2 days later when we're in your hotel room doing the radio show?
I believe that was the day after. I think this happened on a Saturday night. And then I think Monday was when we were all gathered talking about it. And I was in denial.
Okay, so Monday night, yeah, you're right. That was Saturday night. Okay, that makes sense. So Monday night, right, Miesha? Tell me if you remember. I'm sitting on the floor because there aren't enough chairs in Lorien's room. And she's interviewing us one by one for her radio show. And I'm sitting on the floor next to Aaron Hicks. And Aaron says, I had an experience Saturday night or whatever, you know, the night before last. And she's showing me bruises. And I said, oh my God, I have those same bruises. And so we're comparing. And Aaron and I had the same bruises on our arms. So, whoop, Lorien, are you there? Did we lose you?
No, she says she's going to be right back. So
okay, so we have the same bruises. And Aaron goes, yeah, Jay and I talked and 2 hotel rooms were broken into. And that's when she shows me the pictures of the broken door latches.
Do I have those photos?
Yeah, I gave those to you, didn't I?
Yep, okay.
Yeah, can you bring them up?
No, I'll add them manually when I start editing.
Oh, later. Okay, you'll add them. Okay, so he's going to add those. So, one of the only pictures I have were for one of the rooms. I thought she'd sent me the others 2. She didn't. But the time she showed me both and then sent me right away, you know, texted me or emailed me right away the pictures. And so here we had matching bruises and she showed me the door locks and she said, Jay remembered something and she thought something had happened. And since I had the same bruises and you know, by then I wasn't recalling everything right away, but we're sitting there, we're kind of remembering. And then now 2 weeks after the event, because I had that confused with Lorien, but it was Aaron who called me 2 weeks after the conference. Now I was having, immediately following the conference, I was having all sorts of post-traumatic stress stuff. I couldn't sleep. I had bloody noses. So I had a stopped up nose for days. And every time I'd go to blow my nose, it was like chunks of stuff were coming out. And so that told me, oh my God, this happened, because why would I be blowing out like dried blood? Okay. And that happened for days after the conference. And, so I was stopped up, blowing out, you know, when I would clear it, it'd be chunks of dried up blood. I was having post-traumatic stress. About 2 weeks, it was about a month. About a month after this, my friend Scotty and I had to attend a work conference together. Long story short, we were at the special thing. And I didn't even want to sleep with the lights off in the hotel room. I mean, just the idea of a dark hotel room. I had to, luckily there was enough ambient light outside that I was making sure we cracked the blinds, you know, the curtain in the hotel room on this, that we shared on that other trip. And I couldn't sleep. I got up at like 3 in the morning and went walking this giant fancy Hyatt that, you know, whatever it was. We were, I think, in Chicago at this big fancy hotel. And I'm walking around because I'm like, I can't sleep at all. You know, just the idea of being in a hotel. This was the next time I was in a hotel room, and I was so freaked out, like, about being in a hotel room, and I had to have the blinds open. Now, luckily, Scotty can sleep through anything, so I had to have the blinds open, you know, and so that's like a month after the event, and I can't sleep in a hotel room. It's, you know, and so I knew. I said, this is an over-the-top reaction. Absolutely, something happened, but 2 weeks after the event, so that was even before that trip, but 2 weeks after the event, Erin calls me out of the blue and she goes, I've remembered more. And she said, and I talked to Jay. Now, I had not told anybody at that point. I had already consciously remembered and wrote it down in notes, wrote a lot of notes, that I remembered that the truck was, from the outside, looked like a Ryder truck with the temporary surgical unit. It looked like a Ryder truck. Well, both Jay and Aaron called me to say, I was talking to Jay, so I called you. Jay and I remember it was a Ryder truck, and I had never said that. So therefore their, memory matched mine. And they said, yeah, we both remembered it looked like a Ryder truck. And I said, oh my God. They said, do you remember that? And I said, yeah, Aaron on the phone's like, do you remember that? I said, yeah. I said, I remember that. I said, I have notes. I said, I pulled out my notes. I said, let me read my notes. And I read my notes to her. And she remembered about Steve Kelly on the deck putting up a fight and them choking him. So she remembered that. So Aaron remembered a bunch. So it's like, oh, thank God someone else is remembering this, and so that's, and she said I didn't talk to Jay, but she said she did. And he remembered a lot of the same parts, but she said, Jay said the Ryder truck, and she knew it was a Ryder truck. And I said, oh my God. She goes, what? I said, that's what I saw. And I had never told anyone.
Melinda, since we don't have a whole lot of time left,
yeah,
can you and Miesha tell the story about when you guys were in the apartment in down
well,
I'll
let Miesha tell it, since I just talked for a long time.
Okay, and I did want to get hopefully get Jocelyn's story in with you too.
Yeah.
So, Miesha, you're muted.
Yeah, let's
there you go.
Jocelyn in first because do you want to get Jocelyn in first?
Okay.
Yeah, because I think Melinda and I are going to have to leave, and it's going to be you and Jocelyn, and then maybe you could tell about what happened to the two of you.
Yeah. Melinda has to leave too.
What time is it now? I'm looking for my cell phone. Oh, there it is.
Really, by the time we get going, we'll have 5 minutes.
Okay, so well, I can go to about 20 after.
Yeah, she can go a lot longer than I can. I'm leaving in a few minutes. So.
I can only, okay, so
go ahead and start that, and then Miesha, when you're alone, you do the Melinda you story.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Which Jocelyn's heard before, so
Yeah.
Okay. Well, and Lorien, you've heard, so if you got to go, that's okay. So Jocelyn, do you want to start with our experience together?
All I know is Melinda said she wanted to open up this business for Night Sky Watch, and I said, that's great. Come and stay at my house, and you can go and talk to the owner.
And it was 2011.
2011.
No, November.
November. It was quite chilly. And so during the night,
where didn't we go out to dinner or something that night?
I don't think that
really matter.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry.
Go on.
Yeah, we had a great social time, and everybody went to bed, and sometime during the night, Bean came in and was standing next to my bed, and I looked at my dog. My dog was paralyzed, and I said, oh, well, let me get something to wear. It's cold outside. And I go into my closet. I can't really find anything. And I'm just digging through. I think I ended up pulling.
You guys understand this is aliens, and she's saying, wait, I have to put some clothes on.
Yeah. So I got my clothes on, but I had everything on backwards. A sweatpants, a sweatshirt, and a pair of slippers. But I had everything backwards. But I remember coming out about right where I'm sitting, actually, and there was an ET waiting.
So she went out through where her sliding glass door would be, out into the deck.
No, it was through this bedroom door right here.
Oh, okay, sorry, okay.
And that is the window right here, is where the being just walked right through.
Okay.
And another being standing here. I did paint a picture of it, of this woman. And
he has that, Yannick has that picture, so he can put it in.
But I got into a craft, and we went up to Red Rock High School, and this is where I saw you and Bonnie, and I told them not
So
to disturb my
now,
husband.
did you go up in a beam of light into a craft?
No, it was just waiting right here, right
Oh,
where
okay.
I'm sitting, right where my
Okay.
chair is sitting. It was sort of a small egg shape, like a
Yes.
one-person craft.
Yes.
And
That's going to matter more with my experience, but yeah. I mean, yes.
yeah, and I was just transported up there. And then once I saw you, we were just hanging together, and you were quite upset. You were mad that they took me, and we got onto this bus. Now, from the outside, it looked like it was maybe 16 feet long.
So a white commuter van, like city buses here in Sedona are these small white things.
Yeah, but when you got inside, it was expansive. It was like huge, and you could, see row after row. There was probably 200 people in there.
And the bus?
Yes.
I don't. Okay. I don't remember that.
And
okay.
we sat like in the front part of it, and you were really mad. You had a windbreaker or something on, or sweatshirt, and you pulled your cell phone out. You said, "I'm going to call Les Valdez. I'm so mad." And you're sitting there punching the phone, and this ET just kind of floated over, and you went, catatonic, and it just sort of plucked the phone from you and floated.
There's a little something up here because I didn't have my cell phone, but that's okay. Go on. You'll hear my story in a second.
Well,
Okay.
I understood you had your cell phone, but they took it back and put it someplace in the room where you were staying. And but anyway, we went into an underground base. We were separated, and there were certain people went certain ways. We were on this bench, and I was fussing with my sweatshirt because it was, choking me. And I pulled my arms in and I moved it around, but the pants, I had this big bubble right on my crotch, and I asked if I could use the restroom. And this is when I was escorted. I did a painting of this, escorted by one of the military people and one of the small ETs that were there, down into, you could tell that it was a tunnel. It was carved rock and red rock, and I could see the quartz crystal and copper deposits in the walls above me, but from about 4 feet down, it was finished wall, and and then it had fluorescent lights, and they took me down, and I went past an area where they had these animals, ET animals, in sort of naturalized pins. It was like there was some weird, like walking through a terrarium or something, and I saw these.
But there was like fencing or pens.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I went into what looked like a very industrial looking, military looking, or exactly like the restroom that you used when you were a kid, that kind of green color and weird lights and the linoleum floor. And I was able to switch my pants around real quick, and I came back out. And then that's when we went into the room. Now we went into, I was regressed a couple of times over this, and we went into that room 3 times, both you and I.
Okay.
I only remembered consciously the one time. It wasn't until I was regressed that I realized it was,
But do you remember when in the hallway with all the people?
Yes, and we were sitting on the benches, and
Okay.
And they were, I remember also the woman with some sort of cart or something, and she was, giving us something to drink, or it's almost like a stewardess on a
Yeah.
airplane, coming down, and she was offering up like these small cookies.
Can you go to one with the wires hanging in that thing?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you guys, we talked about this many, many, many times. So, go ahead. I just,
So we went into this room, and and they hooked up the brain, all this kind of electrodes all over, and even down onto the shoulder area. There was a couple of electrodes, and we were supposed to do telekinesis of picking up this little brass golden teardrop and running it through this hoop about this big, and putting it on the other side. And I could kind of make it wobble, but I couldn't pick it up.
And there were ETs and humans together during
that came in. There were 4 ETs that came in, and one did like a literal mind meld.
Yeah.
And showed my mind how to accomplish this, which
yes.
So you did it a couple of times with the ETs.
Yep.
And then you did it on your own. And I remember having a couple, having some difficulties, and then finally doing it. And then they sat me back in the back of the room while you and Bonnie were doing your test. And I watched as, the same procedure. And Bonnie was just like, looked at him and said, I've been up for 2 nights straight. If you can mind melt me all you want. I'm, this is.
Bonnie told him off. She was like, "Get me out of here."
Yeah. But Melinda, she was like me. It's like the first couple of times were, just kind of wobbling this thing or making it stand up, and maybe getting it about this far off the ground. But then when they came and did the mind meld, Melinda had flown across. I think at one time it actually flew off onto the ground, and Melinda turned around, and I gave her the old thumbs up.
No, well, that's when we went in the second room. After the first thing in the air, they took you out the hallway and into the other room, and you sat in the back. But they had you do it. They had you do. Okay.
It's like this happened 3 times.
Yeah.
And so there was one time that I was separated from the rest of the group, and I thought, oh yeah, that's good. That's over. I want to go home. I want to go to bed. And there were a lot of military in the second room.
Yes. Yeah. The second room. Yeah.
Oh, you remember now.
Should I go ahead? Okay. Yeah. That was all really good. That was like, that matches. Okay. And here, and I talked about this before. There were a few little elements in there I hadn't really heard her say right then, but they match. Okay. So Bonnie and my friend Bonnie and I come from out of town because we're going to meet with the owner of the Center for New Age and make business arrangements. So we stay with Jocelyn, and I moved here like March following that. This was November, the March 1st I moved, or before March even, last week of February, whatever. So, okay. So, Bonnie and I stay in her guest house, and we went to bed. And what I remember is I'm awoken by this beam of blue light coming down through the ceiling, and we're in the guest house. Bonnie is on a sofa bed. I'm on an air mattress on the ground. Air mattress, she's on a pull-out sofa bed. And this beam of blue light comes over me. I'm immobilized. I start to lift up. It's a classic, alien abduction. As I'm starting to be lifted up off the air mattress, alien grays come out of the darkness, stepping into the blue light beam. You know, it's that wall of light thing. Anyone who's an abductee, been there, done that, right? The wall of light, and they're like faces are coming into the wall. And so then they're around me and I lift. I look over, thinking about Bonnie, I look over, there's a beam of blue light and she's going up. So she goes up and I go up. Next thing I know, we're on this small seed-shaped craft thing, okay? Now, I don't know really how big it is because I didn't see the whole thing, but we're on this craft with ETs, and Jocelyn is on like an exam table next to me, and Bonnie is sitting in a chair. Now, it turns out Jocelyn's daughter and husband were taken in this too. At that point, I did not remember seeing them, and I didn't get regress further. I have had regression over this, but not to look into that. But anyway, so going back to, but I saw Jocelyn laying next to me and Bonnie sitting there in like a seat across from us. And the aliens were showing me these shapes floating over me. And they said, focus on this. This is important. I didn't get what it was, these floating shapes. And I think Jocelyn, you'd said you saw that too or something, but these floating shapes is like, this is important. And they were, and you'd focus on them and they would move. And I thought, were they moving or them or my? I thought that at the time. Next thing I know, there's kind of a moment, maybe a blacking out. Next thing I know, I'm standing in a parking lot on asphalt. I see lines painted on the ground. And there's, now this is the first time later in regression that I saw Bill there and Bonnie and Jocelyn and maybe a couple other people. We're in a group of like 5 or 6 people. And there's like 3 or 4 military guards standing around us like parade rest. But I look and I can see a little bit of lighting in this apartment. Now, I think, Jocelyn, tell me if you disagree, but over recalling this and regressing, I think we were where they parked the buses in the slightly upper back part where the high school is.
That's correct.
Okay, okay, yeah. And so we were back there, which has a security arm gate. So it's like not everyone can just go back there. So I thought, well, that would make a perfect place because there's, you know, you can't just go back there. But otherwise it'd be easily accessible. But anyways, so, and I remember there's another group with some guards and another group. So we're one of 3 groups. And then there's this like city bus commuter van that can probably seat like 24 people or so. It's how I remember. And there's bifold doors on the side, which there are and that kind of thing. And we're escorted and there's a guy standing by the doors and he says, please come on. And we get on the bus and they bring everybody, all 3 groups on the bus. And there's a guard driving it, one in the front seat and at least one in the back row. And they're armed, but we just sit there. Now, what I remember is we pull out to Upper Red Rock Loop, we pull out onto 89A and we're going for a while. And 10 minutes later or so, we pull off, there's a little bit of pavement and then dirt. So I'm thinking it's Highway 525 or 725 for anyone familiar with Sedona, roughly. It could be.
Actually, Melinda, we went down road 261.
Oh, 261. Okay. I think you're right. 261, which is just a little bit further. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. I think you're absolutely right. Because I even debated at one time, was it Bill Gregg Road, you know, for anyone familiar with the area. Anyway, so we're going and it's bounced along because it's grade and all of a sudden it gets in after going a couple turns going this way that way and it's the windows are kind of dark on this thing so you can't really see, but all of us occasionally you could see maybe if a tree or bush was right near us, and all of a sudden it gets into this windy area where it's really pitching and yawling and it's like rough terrain and you know doing this, and eventually we come and we're coming into kind of a lit up area and the door opens and we've gone through like a chain link fence area and the door opens and we get out and there's guards. There's at least 1 or 2 other vans with people coming off of them like ours. So it's like, you know, 20 or more of us and each or more, like Jocelyn said, maybe bigger, but there's others. Okay. And they're all coming off and there's a couple of black Jeeps and there's light alls, like temporary lighting, which is like electric box with the arm that comes up with lighting. So it's like, and the fence looks temporary. So there's like this temporary rollout chain link fence and these temporary lights.
Right.
Do you remember that? Yeah. And I remember, and I think I said something to you because I remember that there were like utility doors, almost like at a school gymnasium or the side door of a theater, with like metal panic bars, you know, but they were open, and there was like 2 doors open, 2 doors open. There was maybe even 2 more.
That's correct.
Okay, but these were on the side of this hill, like a rock face, red rock. And then I remember there's this archway either cut into the red rock or some protruding structure in an arch. So red rock natural below it, red rock natural below it, but this archway, and then these sets of 4 or 6 doors.
That's correct.
And okay, and they open them, and we walk in, and it starts to go downhill, and gravel and dirt give way to asphalt. So it's like loose, you know, it's gravel and dirt, and then it's like a little bit spread out, just like it got scattered.
Yeah, the stairs first. We had the stairs.
Oh, were there some stairs right there? Okay. And then I remember there's like a road, but to the right of the road is a moving walkway, just like you get on in the airport. Just exactly like an airport, you know,
right.
moving walkway.
And there was that view
window. Yeah, the windows. Yes, to the right. Yeah. And then there's these windows that I remember them tilting like this. And if you leaned over the railing of the walkway, you could look down, and you were looking down on a lower area that was like a work area with different, like, I want to say partitioned areas.
Yeah.
Like light manufacturing, research, science research, you know, combination.
Right.
You know, and there's guys in lab coats and military guys.
There was a supercomputer in the middle of all of that.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I'm just saying, I just know that there was like technology and equipment and lab areas, and there were areas where nobody was working, and then there'd be guys in lab coats or guys in military, maybe a couple ETs, you know. And then eventually the walkway ends, and we walk across a bridge. So this is a lower area, like we're looking down on a lower story from a second story. Then we walk across this bridge, or, you know, like a hallway, but it has windows on the sides that if you went, you could look down on that area. But we're walking on this bridge, and we make a turn, or maybe 1 or 2 turns. But anyways, we're in this big hallway, and they join all of these people up, and there's like 100 people in the hallway. And I remember everybody wearing like whatever they were taken from bed in. Nobody was completely naked, but there were people in bra, there were women in bras and underwear. There were guys in boxer shorts. There were people in sweats and jeans. You know, it was like either what you were wearing and or they handed you something, you know. I had a t-shirt and leggings on. You had your sweats, which were purple and green. I'll never forget. Was it purple bottoms and a green top? Is that what it was? And later when I remembered and I said, you were wearing purple and green, she goes, oh my God, that's right. That is what I was wearing, you know. So we were able to confirm memories. Okay, so we're waiting in this line, and eventually they take us into this room, groups at a time. We go in, and there's benches and a few folding white plastic chairs. A bench, like white plastic benches and white plastic chairs. But it's a fairly big room, and across the room are these 3 tiers, like almost if you think of like, you know, where a chorus works, you know, and you have the stands for a chorus. Okay, so it's like 3 feet wide shelf, and it's a couple steps in a shelf and a couple steps in a shelf. But on each one are like folding utility tables with computers on them, and people in some lab coats and stuff at those computers.
That's correct.
And they sit us there, and on the wall hanging behind us, and I've looked this up online, are the brainwave monitoring. They're like a loose net cap with the plugs on it, you know, sensors, and a bunch of wires hanging down. And what they would do is they take a couple at a time, and they'd put this on and arrange the sensors, just like Jocelyn said. And so you had the, what's the word I'm thinking of where they monitor your brainwave, you know, those. And
EKG or
EKG monitoring. Yeah, exactly. I just pulling a blank on the word. So we're there, and then they had this floating kind of teardrop brass looking thing that you had to move from this area over here. And they had these ETs, like you said, 4 or, you know, and they would come stand with you, mind meld, kind of like show you how to do it or help you. You would do it with them, and then they'd back off. They'd step back like 5, 10 feet away, and they'd have you do it again. Could you do it without the ETs helping? And then they'd step forward, help you again, and then they'd back up. I remember that Jocelyn did it more successfully first. Like, she tried a couple times and then was able to move it on her own. And right on the wall over here was a door, metal handle, and the square window with the wires in it. But I remember they took her out that door and to the left. So I'm like, oh, she did it, and then whatever she goes out that door to the left, because she walked past the window, with the security wires in it, you know what I mean? Okay, so I do this, and I do it a couple times. I remember Bonnie went like first or whatever and argued with him. This is the stupidest thing ever. I don't want to do this. Pai's got this low, deep voice, and she, and I think you and I are like, come on, and but there's other people, and they're going through all these people quickly. So they're like, can you do it? Can you not? Do it again, boom, you go, Now, people who couldn't do it, and Bonnie, when they took them out that door, they went to the right. So very few people were going out the door and to the left. So when you went to the left, suddenly like, competitive Melinda steps in. I want to be able to go to the left. And, these guys, anyway, so now they were being strict, but they wanted success. So there was a little bit of decent bedside manner, from these doctors or technicians, But then there was this guy, and I remember Bonnie recalled him too. He had a short sleeve white shirt on, maybe epaulets, I think dark pants, but he was like, they were calling him captain or whatever. He was some kind of the military guy, and he was pretty tough. But some of the other people would be a little nicer. Anyway, so I do it eventually, and it does move, so they take me out the door and to the left. Now we go down a hallway a little bit, and I'm taken in a room. And a guard opens the door. I'm escorted in, and there's a folding utility, like a long, 9-foot utility table or something. And there's a guy in like a suit, a guy in military brass, like more official looking. Yeah, okay, more official looking. And then there's the guys in the lab coats, like scientists, and then there's guards, okay? And they walk me up to this table, and there's this pyramid thing. Now, the other thing in the other room, I remember like a kind of a teardrop shape. This thing was more like a little metal pyramid thing. And there's no ETs in the room. So now they're saying, can you do it? No ETs, can you do it? Can you move it? It's just like 3 feet. They say, can you move it from ear to ear? And I think that was the thing that dropped on the floor. Jocelyn, now that you say that, I remember that. I do remember that. So it's like I move it, but behind that thing was this kind of tilted, very alien piece of looking technology with slots on it and handles and little knobs that look like some kind of alien control panel, it was either one or a mock-up to look like one, okay? And they hadn't.
That it was one.
I think it was one. It was one. I'm with you. It was one. It was a piece of alien technology, but it was set back on the table, and they said, move this little thing, move this brass thing. But I was like, no, what's that? I moved the little brass thing. I'm like, okay, whatever the hell, I moved it. And I said, but what's that? That interested me more. And I said, those little knobs look like the shapes that the aliens floated over us on the ship. And I'm like, and they were these weird kind of geometric shapes, like a triangle and a sphere and a ball kind of stuck together. And, some of them were like two pyramids together, but others were weird, like, and I going, oh my God, the shapes look like the things that floated above us, which they had us concentrate and said, this is important. I, to this day, say the aliens helped us cheat. And gave us the test, because as soon as I looked at those knobs on those little handles, they moved. And I said, well, I think I moved those on the ship. I wonder if these move. And as soon as I looked at them, the little levers, like it'd be like a little lever with a knob on top, with, like this, with a little thing on top, and it would go, or one that would go sideways would go, in this little slot. And I remember the guy in the suit turns to the military guy and says, kind of under his breath, but I heard him, he goes, "We got another one." So I'm meaning like I did that, like some other people did, like, wait, here's another, we got another one. And I think what they wanted us to do was not pass, they didn't care about moving the little triangle. They were looking, I think, for two things. One is, could you move the alien device and operate it? And B, okay, thank you, honey. Could you move the alien device? And I got to meet him at 6:30, so I'm okay. And I'm here already, so I don't have to go anywhere, meeting my client. So could you move the alien device? And secondly, could you like buck authority? Because they kept saying, don't look at that. If they caught you looking at, they said, don't look at that, look, focus on the pyramid, do the pyramid. And they kept telling you, focus on the pyramids. You were like you were going against their instructions to do the other one. Jocelyn, you can tell me what you think, but that's what I remember. And that's what I think they wanted you to like go against.
It's like when you were talking about the pyramid, it's why I really didn't remember a pyramid, is because there were so many other things going on. And what I saw, it's like there's those 7 basic shapes. You know, that had you know, the 3-dimensional shape.
On the end of a little lever.
And it was the light. Remember the light? It seemed like there was a light that was coming in and out of these like little teeny long windows. You know,
like it was lit up maybe. And I just remember the shapes look exactly like what the ETs had showed us on the ship. And I'm like, oh my God, those are the same shape. And I went, and I thought, as soon as I thought, I wonder if those moved, they started to move. And I wasn't sure if I was moving them or not. I go, am I doing that? And I said, does that one go to the right? And as soon as I asked, like just to myself in my head, I thought, does that one go to the right? It went to the right. So I go, oh, I guess I'm moving it. And what told me yes, I had moved it is when the guy in the suit turned to the guy in military brass, like a, you know, full colonel or admiral or whatever heck he was, and turns to him and goes, we got another one. So that was like, oh my God, did I do it? And then, so then they say, okay, you're done here. The guard goes to the door, opens the door, says, follow me. I turn around, and sitting in the back of the room in a little chair, little plastic white chair, a couple of chairs that are empty, but there's one person sitting in the back of the room, Miss Jocelyn. And so I didn't know the whole time she was there. They took me in the door, took me over the table. I went up to the right table. It wasn't until I turned around to be taken out of the room that sitting, 30 feet behind me is Jocelyn sitting there grinning the whole time. And as soon as I turn around, I look at her in shock and she goes, she gives me this thumbs up like, good job.
I do remember that. Yes.
Yeah. She goes, good job. And then they take us out. Then they take us in a little medical room and in 3 or 4 people at a time. And they do a cursory exam, put you on an exam table, is everything functioning, basic medical exam. And then after giving you a medical exam, asking you a couple questions, they handed you a little Dixie cup.
That's
filled with mind white fluid. Been there, done that. Anyone who's had these kind of experiences. Minty flavored. And they said, drink this.
Kind of bubble gum flavored.
Bubble gum. Mint. I remember it being like mint and bubble gum together.
Could be, yeah.
Yeah, like maybe they were running out of one and combined. Shit, not enough bubble gum, we'll have the mint. No, I know. You guys, I make light because that's all you can do in this. But I tell you, when I turned around and Jocelyn did this with and I was all like, oh shit, did I really do that? Oh my God. And I turned around and like this, it cracked me up. Then, so I argue with the guy and I don't want to take the drink in the room after my exam. And they kept me in there for a while. They had me sit there for a while. They examined other people. And finally, a doctor guy trying to hand me the cup says, don't you want to go home? You can't go home till you drink this. We can keep you here forever, or you can go home with your friends. Your friends are waiting in the hallway for you. And that, there was a certain amount of logic there. And he said, look, you're not going anywhere till you drink it. So he's like, really, Ms. Leslie? They always call me Ms. Leslie. Really, Ms. Leslie? So, okay, so I take it, I drink it. I go out in the hallway and everyone's lined up. This is the bridge with the windows, and we're going to get it back on the moving conveyor belt thing, right? To go back out the tunnel. And I'm standing there, and I'm standing there with Jocelyn. And the drug started to take effect, you know, mild hallucinogenic or whatever. And so, you know, someone would move, you see trails, or you see someone's mouth, then you hear the sound. What? Yeah. And so Jocelyn, do you remember this, Jocelyn? Yeah, I know you remember this. You've told me this before. She leans in my face, makes a funny face, like crosses her eyes, like as if, like, do you feel like I do or whatever? Because she makes this very funny face, crosses her eyes, leans in my face, and the drug's just coming on, so she makes me crack up. She's like cross-eyed looking at my face. So I start cracking up, and then they take us out on the conveyor belt, out the door, back to the bus. They put us on our buses. And as they put me on the bus, sitting there already is Bonnie, already passed out. And they put us on, and we're still, the drug's in effect, but we can function, you know, and we get on the bus. It starts driving, pitching and yelling, la, 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 la. At some point driving home, I pass out. Now, next thing I remember, and this is a minor thing, but I want to share it. I wake up in bed, and it's like sun's just starting to come up. And I had to go to the bathroom really bad. And the sun's just coming up, and I'm laying on the air mattress, and I'm seeing through blinds, mini blinds that are closed but open just a tiny bit, but laying on the ground. I can look up and see it at the angle through them. And I see this little seed-shaped craft hovering in the sky. And I'm fully conscious. I'm going, oh my God, I'm having a sighting. And I'm starting to remember stuff right away. I'm like, I just had an abduction, and I'm now seeing the craft in the sky. And I get out of bed, I pull her blinds apart. Hope I didn't hurt them. I pull her blinds apart, and I look at this thing, and there's a pine tree right there. And it goes behind this big pine tree, and I go, damn it, I can't see it. So I said, I'm going to go outside the door to look at it. And I go to the door, and I hesitate to go outside onto their little porch. This is out of her little guest house. And I step out, and I look back, and unfortunately it's gone. But I had seen it from the whole time. I was laying on bed, finally got the courage to get up, open the blinds, look at it, moves behind the tree, wait, go outside. And by the time I open the door, it's gone. Darn it. I wish I'd gone quicker. I would have been right under. But it was this little seed-shaped oval silver UFO, you know, and it's now sun coming up, you know, so it's daylight, but you know, dawn, but I can clearly see it. And then I have to go to the bathroom. What?
It was 3:30 in the morning. I don't know what light that you saw, but it
okay,
was,
maybe it was 3:30.
It was 3:30 in the morning.
Okay. And I came over because then when I came and opened her back sliding glass door, which she left open, so because where we were, there wasn't a restroom. So for us to use the restroom, we had to come in the one in the house. And I go through the back sliding glass door, and one of your dogs, Emily and Jack, your dogs then, Emily gets up on her hind legs. No, actually, yeah, it was Emily. Stands up on her hind legs, puts her front legs up here. Now, this is a big, heavy dog. So she's on her, and she puts her paws up here, and she goes, and I go, Emily, did you witness any of that? Like she's talking to me, like I'm going, the dog knows what happened. She puts her paws down, runs to the back hallway to your bedroom door and scratches at your bedroom door. I hear you open your bedroom door going, Emily, what's wrong? What's wrong? I quietly go into the bathroom, use the bathroom. I come out and I go back to bed and fall back asleep. But I heard you go, Emily, what's going on?
No, because well, Emily did get me up. Bill was up. Lana was up. Everybody.
No, that's the second time.
3:30 in the morning to make tea because everybody was up.
No, that's the second time because I go back to sleep. I go back to sleep at 3:30. I go back to sleep for a couple hours. When I get up again at 7. So I wake up at 7. Bonnie's not in her bed, and I go, where's Bonnie? And I open the front door. Well, Bonnie was a heavy smoker. She's sitting on the porch having a cigarette. She takes a big drag, leans back into a little sage lounge there, takes a big drag, looks at me and goes, with her deep voice, I saw you being taken last night. And I lean against the door and I go, oh, really? And I said, I saw you being taken last night. And she takes another drag and she goes, maybe we should go find out if Jocelyn knows. So that's when we go in and you're making us coffee. And you come over to us and you guys don't say anything. You said, Bill and Brenda hate this stuff, so don't say anything, don't say anything. Don't, we're not talking about it. Okay. But we said, do you remember? And you go, said, yes, I remember. You know, you're like, yes, I remember. You guys remember. Yes. Okay. We know we all remember. So we have conscious memory. And so you make us coffee. And then Bill, that's when he comes out and says, honey, comes here. He yells from the bedroom, right? Honey, come here.
That's right.
And you go and he shows you, we had a crop circle in the side yard after this. We had landing trace evidence in the yard.
That my husband discovered.
Yeah.
And yeah, he doesn't like to be taken at all. He'd rather stay asleep.
And we went and you without telling us, you said to Bonnie and I back in with our coffee in the living room, you guys come with me. We follow you out to the side yard and we see the circle in the weeds. I got to go. Yeah, I got to go. Yeah. But this crop circle in the weeds, and we took photos of it and everything. And you can tell them more about it now because I got to go. Miesha, I'm sorry, but if you want to share our experience, I trust you. I know you remember it well. We agree. 2 different reptilians. But you remember my part too.
I remember your part. I probably won't get as detailed, but they'll get
no, good enough. Good enough.
All
but
right.
That's if Yannick wants to keep going. But I trust you to share that because Miesha and I have lived with that experience for what's got to be 25 years anyways, right? Long time?
2000, wasn't it?
Yes, 2000. You're right. You're right. It was 2000.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Thanks for coming on, Melinda.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Well, you guys, I want to just emphasize, I have a client waiting, but I got to go. But it's not just about storytelling. It's to say, you guys, you're not alone. These are our stories, yes, but we have more. We've all had multiple experiences with this besides the ones we've had together. And this is the kind of stuff that happens. These are not that unusual, right, you guys? These are fairly typical to people having these kind of experiences. And we have lots of evidence and drawings and stuff that we've, not lots, but a few we've provided Yannick that he's going to share. Yannick, thank you for having me on, you guys. Everybody have a good night. Sorry to be rushed, but I have a UFO sighting tour.
Have a nice evening.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Beautiful job for sharing. This is gonna, Yannick, we're all going to share this.
Yep.
You're going to get more hits than your videos have ever gotten. This is going to be huge.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Bye.
And Jocelyn, you can finish any of that story about the circle or whatever and etc. But okay, thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye. So Jocelyn?
Her cell phone battery is almost dead, so she's going to get a charger, and she'll be right back.
Okay, okay.
So this happened in the year 2000.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I don't want to get started unless if Jocelyn has any more things she wants to share about her experience. I think it's pretty amazing. I can't tell you I've had an experience where I've had that many people. Well, yes, I have. Yeah, there were. Yeah, I guess it's one of those. But that many, and the way everything was set up and everything is quite extraordinary. It is very interesting. But I also had I might share this little short story until she gets back. Before I share the other experience with Melinda, but I thought Melinda was at this event with us, but she must not have been in the car. But at any rate, or at the house I was at. No, she wasn't there. I just now remembered. Okay. So I was staying, we went to an event there. I was staying with a friend at Boynton Canyon, which is not really too far from Secret Canyon. And that night I had an abduction, and the reason I knew I had an abduction was by the people who told me. And I was sleeping on the couch, and they had to come by me to go to the bathroom. And they I was missing. So they were looking all over for me, they told me, all over for me. I couldn't find me. I wasn't outside. I wasn't anywhere. And I only had a very small memory that night of just being in an underground base. And I remember seeing reptilians. Often it seems that reptilians are in my Milab abductions. So, but this particular one, I didn't have a lot of memory about it, but I knew there was reptilian, and that was about it. And I've not done any regressions on it, and I really do need to. But on the way back from Sedona, I was in a car with three other women, and I was a passenger. And all of a sudden, I started feeling like I was having a heart attack. And I said, oh my God, oh, it hurts so bad. I feel like I'm having a heart attack. Well, this is my first psychotronic weapon, microwave weapon shot at me. And I've had some many since then, but this is that one. And I could feel like I was having a heart attack. And the driver stopped the car, and they got a sleeping bag out and a pillow and leaned me up against the back passenger wheel of the car. And I was just, trying to get my breath because I was taking my breath away, and they hadn't even called a paramedic. I didn't even get a chance to. And up pulls a white truck with just one single cross on it. Two guys jump out. They both have big, like army boots. They have camo clothes. One has actually the camo uniform, so I know they're military. The other one has a white jacket, like they usually the longer ones. So they just seemed completely wrong, and I was still having this pain, and they walk up to us, but not to me completely. It's as if they stopped, and they said, she looks like she's having a heart attack. And I said to the girls, don't let him take me. I don't think I'll ever come out of it. And we need to get her in the truck to check her out. Now, why didn't they bring their device out to me? No, they brought nothing out. They were completely empty-handed, standing there arguing with us about how I need to go in the truck with them. And I said, oh no, it's just a little heat stroke. I'm okay. And they said, oh, I don't know. It looks like a heart attack to me. We better get you in to get an EKG. And I said, no, I'm okay. I'm okay. And then they looked at the girls and they said, if she dies from a heart attack, you're responsible if you don't let us take care of her. And I said, no, I'm okay. I'll be okay. And my pain was subsiding quite a bit right at the time they showed up. And then at the front end of the car, in comes a sheriff's car. And as he pulls in, they jump in their truck and leave. Don't even talk to the cop. They jump and leave. And he said, is everything okay here? And I said, oh, yeah, it's fine now. I feel like I had some heat stroke. There was one thing I forgot to tell you. When the heart attack was hitting me, or what it was, a fake heart attack, whatever you want to call it, the shooting, that pain. So often people in the psychotronic think they're having a heart attack, and sometimes they'll produce their own heart attack because they're in so much panic. So, but I kept seeing this pod with a reptilian hybrid in it. I kept seeing that vision, and I kept hearing, please don't leave us, help us. Please don't leave us, help us. And that's when, the heart attack was hitting. And so I knew it was pretty good not to get caught up into that truck. So that's in my book. I didn't give you a picture of the truck, but the picture of a truck like it is in the book.
Miesha, we've been at this for almost 3 hours.
Yeah.
To get into,
wow.
Yeah, I know I had fun. I am. But do you want to get into your abduction case really quick?
Okay. All right.
You don't have to rush it, but
Okay. Well, I kind of take shortcuts anyway. Don't get into real big details anyway myself. That's just me. And okay, so it started off with Melinda and we were on the Art Bell show, but with George Siegel. And she was staying at my condo, and I was in my master, and she was on the couch. And I had another roommate, but she was gone for the time. So we went, after we talked a little bit and then we went to bed. And then the next day we worked on the book that we were actually working on together, which I don't think I've sent you that, but a book that we were working on together. And then also at that time we were speaking at conferences together. So we were working on that stuff. And that night we went to bed, and the next morning I woke up and I walked out, and she's on the couch and waking up, and my coffee table is broken and crack in it. And I said, it's a glass one. I said, Melinda, do you know anything about my coffee table being broken? She said, no, I don't know anything. I didn't do it. I don't know. And so we had breakfast, and then she had to go back to Laguna, and I, had to go to work. So I never really talked about it. We didn't talk about anything. And I know when she got back, she was starting to feel this kind of PTSD thing. I was feeling something was wrong. And I was getting flashes, just a little flash. You get these flashes of things that happen. Like, I didn't sleep all night. I'm exhausted. And I had a flash of a van. I had a flash of this light, of this. And so I went and got a regression. And I think she had more memories than I did. But I'm just going to tell you what I remember about hers as well. So I woke up to, okay, so with the regression, I found out, I went to bed. The next thing I remember, I'm being woken up by men they've got helmets on and night vision goggles. They're in a darker looking uniform. I couldn't tell you because it was nighttime. They hustled me out, and I was already in a zombie state. So they must have the frequency thing that they used on us, or drug shot into the house, or whatever. I'm not sure. And they took me by each arm and walked me down the stairs of the condo and into a van. And then they did with Melinda. Now, when they took Melinda, and we talked about this after she had her regression, I had my regression and such. So, but how my coffee table was broken was Melinda was a kind of in and out of a consciousness, and when they pulled her up off the couch, she lost her balance and hit my coffee table, and that's how my coffee table got broken. I also had noticed that I had my brand new door that had just been sealed with new, weather stripping and everything like that, with new locks and everything from the landlord, had been jimmied. And she's got the picture. I've got the picture of that. So it had been jimmied open, and it was very obvious to be able to tell, because it had messed up the weather stripping, and had caused, you could see that they had done something. So that was really weird to me too. And that was another reason why I got a regression, because I said, oh my God, something happened. And so I will tell you mine, and then I will come back and tell you her side. So being taken in the van, I also know she was in the van. We were not face to face, so that we couldn't communicate, I'm sure. I was very much in and out of consciousness, where she was, I believe she was more awake, so she had more memory. But I really only remember traveling, moving. I remember one light coming into the wind through the window when we stopped. And then I remember being taken out of the van after, we stopped, and it was like a guard gate, had to be, because then we continued on. And I was taken out, and she was taken out, and I pretty much lost conscious then. And then I woke up sitting on a hospital doctor's bed, and with this lieutenant colonel, and I knew it was a lieutenant colonel. I could tell by his uniform. It said lieutenant colonel, and it did not say name, or he had it covered. I don't remember, but I couldn't tell you his name, or they won't let me because they also have a program in me about names. So it's very possible that was the case. And he was screaming and cussing at me and said, "You've been told over and over and over to stop this." Well, prior to that, I've already had an automobile accident with Melinda and I, several people just coming out of the blue and threatening me, calls, different things that had already been threatening. And so had Melinda had these. So they were really ticked off, and he was ticked off that we had the nerve to go on a radio show, such a big show like that, and talk about the experiences that about MILAB. And so that upset him very much. And he said, "This is not going to bring you any happiness, little girl. You need to go on back home where you belong," because this was, of course, in California, and I'm not from Las Vegas, but I consider my home as an adult. And he said, "Go back and get yourself a man and forget about all this because it's not going to bring you any happiness." Now, this particular phrase was given to me 3 times in the different abductions with the military. That was I don't know, it's something that they had that maybe was a trigger for me or some kind of a program for me. I'm not sure. So, so he said, to drive the point home how serious we are this time, I want you to meet somebody. And he walked out. And, like I said, I'm pretty dizzy and groggy, and I feel like I can't see. I know there's a military back there closer to the door. I can see a uniform, but I can't focus in on a face, really. And in walks this 7, 8 foot, I don't know, very tall reptilian. This one actually is not a reptilian. I have had encounters with what I consider reptoids and reptilians in the MILABS on the underground bases, but this one was a draconian, in my opinion. He had a very much thicker neck. He was a light green color. He had a tail, which I had not seen anybody else have a tail. He had more of that a dinosaur look to me than a reptilian. And he leaned down and did a mind melt with me. And he was showing me where I was in this white space. There wasn't anything there. And my family, my 2 sons, my granddaughter, and my daughter-in-law were there. And all of a sudden, these men in these black ninja uniforms with big black ninja knives came in and chopped my family up in front of me. And I was screaming, and I felt like they were screaming. I could hear them screaming in my mind anyway. But then something didn't feel right. And I popped out of this control, and I said in my mind, "Is this real or is this Memorex?" It was the bizarrest thing. I still can't tell you 100% if it was real, but I truly feel it was, because I remember feeling his energy and his almost his breath. I mean, he stunk terribly anyway. But so then I came out of it. And so the same time this was happening to me, but with a different reptile, because for me, I had seen many reptiles and reptoids before in my life. And so to me, I think they needed to have something to really scare me, something different. And this one did. And with Melinda, she had more of a one that I've seen before, her description looks like. But since she didn't have children to scare her with, what they did with her is the same kind of thing. She was being interrogated by, I don't know if it was a lieutenant colonel. Yes, it was, because we both said that they looked similar, but I don't know that they were the same people or anything like that, but they're both older. And it seems like it's always lieutenant colonel or above with me. I think they're the ones that need to know. In fact, I'd like to just say briefly that when Melinda was talking about the way how they don't fake alien abductions in the MILAB. Well, I see my MILAB experiences as a 3-tier thing. You've got, or at least a 2-tier. You've got a first level is ones that are very interested in your experience. These are government, but they are interested, but they don't hurt you. They just they just ask you questions. They ask you a lot of questions. But then the next one are more like this guy was, with screaming at you and cussing at you and calling you names and things like that. And then there's one more level that I've experienced, that where the things come in, like the rape and the MK Ultra stuff and everything like that. Now, it could be for me because I am an MK Ultra survivor and have been since childhood, so it could be different for me. But that's the way I kind of, my experience has been that way. So with her, they would be more likely to scare her with a reptilian, than that she at that point hadn't seen any reptilians. And so the reptilian came into the room, and he leaned over her and did the mind melt with her and made her feel like he was raping her and then tearing her to pieces. So then that's the experience that I have, and the best I can tell you of her experience. She could tell you a lot more detail. She has a lot more memories about these things than I do, but that's the best I can do. I will tell you that when we did contact each other after we'd had our regressions and such, everything fit together of our experiences, and really not too much. Oh yeah, she remembers breaking the coffee table and told me all about that, and she told me about her experiences. And then the only other difference was not difference, but the only other thing was the door, that they had definitely done that door on purpose to show us that we can get you anytime we want to. And then after that, I had decided, after that experience, I was done. So I went back to home to see my family, and it was like Thanksgiving, I remember, if I remember right. Yeah, right around Thanksgiving. And I went home. On the way home, I was pushed off the road going 72 miles cruise on 72 miles an hour. A van, what the witnesses told me later was that a van had zoomed up in between and zoomed into between these trucks, and the truck drivers were actually my witnesses later. But this van had zoomed up, got in there. It was a white van, and with no marking on it. And then I drove by, and as soon as I drove by, he came out and shoved me right off the road. I went through the middle of the meridian, and there's not many trees in between Las Vegas. And I believe, I swear, I believe that my ETs put a tree there, because I went up over on the other side of the freeway, back down, and I came to a relatively soft spot onto a cactus tree. And I was driving a Firebird with a T-top, and all had happened was my fender was ruined, and the police and my son, who ended up, I called him and he came out, helped me pull that off, and that was it. And then I went home. And
why do you think this happened?
What happened?
Why do you think?
Oh, well, there was another experience in between that. Because I had one more interview I was supposed to do after Melinda and I was abducted. And when I went to the restaurant, the guy was sitting there, and he had a Lieutenant Colonel flak jacket on, and he said, my, haven't we been a busy little girl? And I said, pardon me? And he said, you have been told over and over. You even showed how serious this is. And he says, this is your last chance if you do not get out of this. Well,
what's he talking about this? What is he talking about when he says this?
I knew exactly what he was talking about. He was talking about the book that Melinda and I was writing together, that we were researching. We were talking to people in ex-military. We were talking to special forces. We were talking to other people. And we were talking about, well, actually, my book has some of the information, some of the topics. So it's covert abduction, military harassment, surveillance, interrogation, and mind control. And this is what we were bringing out in this book. And they were really ticked off that this book was happening. Yeah, so that's why. And they said, and he said, you're not supposed to go on any shows, you know that. And he said to me there in the restaurant again, this is not going to bring you any happiness, you little girl. You need to go home, find yourself a husband, and get out of this. And I said,
what
people have a,
this?
What's that?
What year was this?
Oh, this is 2000.
Okay.
2000. Okay,
2000.
so in 20 years, now where are we?
Oh, things have changed a lot. I'm into it very much now. I'm very much into it. I work with people in my hypnosis practice for MILABS and MK Ultra and everything. So I'm very much into it now. Yes. But so I went home and I told my kids I was quitting, and I came back and I said, I'm so sorry, Melinda. Here's the stuff I have. I hope you can get the book done, but I have to protect my family. And so I quit. Oh, but I hadn't finished the story about the man. So the man told me, so I said, but the people have a right to know this. The people have a right to know that they're being abducted in the night, not just by ETs, but by their own government. Why is this happening? And he said, people can't handle the truth. They're not ready for the truth, and you're not telling them it. And so he stormed out and got into, very interesting, a black Cobra car. And actually, I had followed him out because we were actually arguing. And I was arguing with him, and I followed him out, and his car was right there. He got into it, and he was yelling at me. And some people came over and said, are you okay? And I said, yeah, I'm okay. So anyway, I got to try to make this shorter. So that was into that. Then I had the accident, and then I came back to San Diego, and then I had one more incident with the car accident. So that would make 3 in less than 4 months. Oh. And this time I was on my way over to take all my books and all my other things over to Sean, and I was hit broadside while I was going across and spun around like 3 times. And this big, definitely military guy jumps out of the car and said, this is all your fault. This is all your fault. You know it. And other people had witnessed it, so it was all fine and everything like that. But so I rented a car, I'd rented a car and had my car being fixed. So that was the rental that was wrecked. So yeah, and then I've had a couple of run-ins with reptilians in the underground bases as well.
Wow.
So,
now you guys have had it really rough. I can't imagine me going through that. I'd be going crazy, really.
At that time I was. It took me a lot of years. I got out of it for 9 years.
Okay.
Yeah, I did.
So, well, let's call it a night, ladies.
Sounds good.
Yannick, it was really fun. It was wonderful.
Yeah.
And thank you, Miesha. I really
It was wonderful hearing about yours. I had not heard about your amazing experience. Thank you for.
I could do a whole show by myself.
Well, then I got to have you on my show. Will you do it?
Oh, absolutely.
Good. Thank you. Yannick's going to be on there on the 3rd. So for everybody to know, Yannick's going to be on my show on the 3rd. And that's our radio, Starseed Awakening Radio. Mm-hmm. And could I just make a couple of plugs? Would you mind?
Go ahead.
Okay. So, and yeah, you can do, Joyce. So I showed you one book. That is the book about all of my Milab experience. And this is a book about my MK Ultra and my whole life story about that. And things have changed in my life now, and I am more in the spiritual realm and such. And I have a book about galactic planets of origin, along with a chart that's in the book for people to find out their galactic planet of origin. So it's a full color illustrated. And so that's that. And I was with Tana Newberry, and we did cards years ago for experiencers, but I did another card deck that we do sell, and I did another card deck which is called the Unimaginable, and this one goes in and takes in psychotronics, MK Ultra.
I want to see the other side.
Oh, this side? Yeah. Just spacey, and then these have really in-depth pictures.
Oh, those are the pictures.
Those
okay.
Pictures, yeah, lots of them, you know, to give you.
I see it, yeah.
Yeah.
Got it.
Those are on, all of these things are available on my website. And I love to make myself available to help people who are from my experiencer groups. And I love to have people be able to help people in MILAB and MK Ultra, because there's nobody out there doing regressions. Well, I'm sure there's lots of people doing regressions, but they need to be able to understand the people. And when you are regressed by somebody who has experienced it, they know, and they can help you the best and help you understand. So that's me. And I'd love to have more people come and join the experiencer group. They just go on my my Starseed Awakening ET Contact the Experiencer group on Facebook, or the MK Ultra MILAB DID Secret Space Program. And then I also have another one for just beginners, Starseed Awakening. So they can go on those, and they'll find those groups that are every Sunday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
Well, well, that's how I met you for the first time. Really, I came to your groups.
Yes.
And I shared my story, and eventually I got on your show right before I did the Experiencer Speak conference where I spoke for the first time. Yeah, I came on your show then, and I haven't been there since 2016, so I'm really looking forward to it.
Oh, right. Yeah. I've been doing these groups on Zoom. Actually, they're on Zoom now, but I've changed different formats for 7 years. So yeah, it's I love helping the people. It's really great to hear their experiences. So
I'll be adding your biographies to the this YouTube description, so they could have a look at Amazon and or whatever to purchase the books. So I know the Melinda's not here and Lorien's gone, but if you guys have seen or have the chance to listen to the video, thanks for coming on. And you too, you were awesome tonight. So thanks to both of you for taking the time. I know it's late.
Thank you so much for having us.
So to those watching, big thanks. More experiencer interviews coming up, and I'll see you guys next time. So take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.